Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Broadcasting from a responsible social distance.
I've got Fritzy at home, McLovin at home, Seton at home. Paulie is here in the man cave.
Dan Patrick and the Danettes bring you the best in sports-ish kind of talk.
It's Damian Lillard who joins us on the program from my Portland Trailblazers. How's the house?
Built me a little recording studio out inside the house. I got me a game room set up.
Bringing Bob Nightingale. If we do play baseball, who would be the favorite to win it all this year?
I think the Dodgers are loaded. I love that Mookie Betts trade. When baseball comes back, I don't know how much fans are going to be jumping all over the Astros. It's like, with all we've gone through, are we really going to boo these guys? Do we really care that much about baseball cheating?
And now, from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Oh, I was just watching NBA TV, and they had the Knicks against the Utah Jazz, the New Orleans Jazz, I should say. And it was 1977, February 25th, 1977. Pete Maravich had 68 points in a win against the New York Knicks. I'm yelling at the TV because he's called for 2 offensive fouls. Maravich fouled out of a game in New Orleans. He scores 68 and 2 cheap offensive fouls. I'm upset about this. They had no three-point shot back then. He would have had 80 points. He had 68, and he was a great outside shooter. And he had Walt Frazier guarding him, or at least trying to, Butch Beard, Dean Meminger, Earl Monroe. Tiki Burden, I think, was also trying to guard him. Not all at the same time, but they had 5 different guys they rotated on Maravich, but he put up 68 back in February 1977. I'm yelling at the screen. Paulie goes, "What's wrong?" I go, That's not an offensive foul." Yeah, Paulie.
It's like a time machine. You're looking at this going, what did they do? How can they call that? What was it? And you're yelling at the ref who's in black and white, and he's probably not even alive anymore.
I know. Why isn't it in color?
I don't know.
I'm watching the game. It's not in color. But Maravich put up 68 on the Knicks.
I tell you, I don't think I've ever watched an hour of Pete Maravich before. I just spent an hour watching him play. I'm fascinated by his handle compared to everyone else on the court. He doesn't even look – it looks like you took a player from today – built a time machine and sent him back to the mid-'70s.
And he's 6'5" with a handle like that and had a great jumper, great passer. His team is so bad. Because people said, oh, he's a gunner. If you see the lineup that he had back then, I understand why he was – I think he led the NBA in scoring that year with 31. Welcome to the program, already in progress. I've been on fire for an hour here yelling at the screen. But the game is over. Maravich had 68. Fouled out at home. What home refs are going to foul out the star at home? Get the name of those referees. I'm mad. I don't care if they're not with us any longer. I'm mad. All right, Cal Ripken Jr. will join us on loan from the Baltimore Orioles. It'll be good to talk to Rip about the ambitious plan that baseball has to bring everybody back and maybe play all those games in Arizona. Daniel Jeremiah, is it a smokescreen? Do the Dolphins want Justin Herbert? And as somebody said to me yesterday, hey, don't get played by this. And I said, I'm just looking at this from the logical standpoint of if you can't interview Tua, get in front of him and actually work him out. Are you going to take a risk if you're the Miami Dolphins? Are you going to move up and trade and try to get Tua? And that's why I think Justin Herbert is on the board for the Miami Dolphins because he is a safer pick. And now you might say there's a big difference between the talent with these two, and Justin Herbert, I think, is joining us Friday on the program. Hank Aaron will join us on this date, April 8th, 1974. One of my heroes. Set the all-time home run record, 715. We'll talk to Hank. He'll join us. And she is a great basketball player for Oregon. The 2-time Wooden Award winner, Sabrina Ionescu, will join us coming up a little bit later on. So we are jam-packed here. Glad you're part of the program. You can watch, you can listen, you can tweet, email. You can do all the above. We have over 100,000 votes. Meat Madness. Got some close matchups here. We'll run down some of those a little bit later on, but you can vote. And check out the DP Show. We got our DP Show store there. A lot of great T-shirts. And check them out. Go to danpatrick.com. More on that coming up. Tampa Bay Buccaneers unveiled their new uniforms yesterday. And I know under normal circumstances, that's pretty light news day. But now, NFL uniforms provided a bit of a distraction this offseason. Just ask the Rams. They unveiled that controversial change a couple of weeks ago. Buccaneers, less polarizing. Tom Brady's going to be wearing the uniform that looks like the one that they won the Super Bowl in under John Gruden, but they missed out. I need the alternate creamsicle jersey. They were great. The only uniform that can even challenge that is the Chargers powder blue. And I get it, the Buccaneers might be a little bit more serious with Brady under center, but I hope they trot out the creamsicles because with Tom in town for at least the next 2 years, and, Bruce Arians, head coach, said, those will be the alternates. When we can get the alternate helmets in there, then we're going to have the creamsicles. The Falcons next week will show off their new uniforms. I don't know if they're going to go old school. Have the Falcons changed their uniforms in a while? I'm not sure. But I don't think you'll get as much attention when the Falcons announce their new uniforms. But with Brady yesterday, I think they wait for the creamsicle. That's when you bring out the heavy artillery. That's when Giselle is going to be maybe modeling the creamsicle. Maybe once a year you bring those out. Maybe the color rush there, you do that. But the creamsicle, that's happening. I think Tom Brady was on with Howard Stern. I think the interview is over. I know they had some technical difficulties. I did not get a chance to listen to it. But, Paulie and I were just talking about this. It's like a heavyweight title fight because you got Tom Brady who strategically says nothing by design. Now, he does have a wicked personality, sense of humor. He does. But you haven't seen that on display. And if you're going to go into Howard Stern's dojo, then you can expect, some pretty pointed questions here. And they're not just about Bill Belichick or Deflategate. It'll be about Giselle. It'll be about their sex life. That's what I find interesting, that Brady would agree to do this. And, what Howard Stern created is, Howard's very curious. He's as curious as any interviewer. And what happens is when you go into his studio or you go into his world, then it's his rules. You know that. You sign up for that. It's not like you say, hey, I'll do it, but I don't want you to ask me these questions. You go on. You want to please Howard. You want to answer. You want to be provocative. You want his fan base to say, boy, that was a great guest. And that's why I was surprised Brady was going to do this. And if you sit there for an hour, Howard's going to get something out of you. Something that you may not know that you're going to reveal, but that's always been the beauty of what he's created with his show, 3 decades. You go in, you sit down, he's going to ask you questions to make you uncomfortable. He doesn't want to go in there and say, hey, let's just sort of dance around things. He wants to ask you pointed questions, and he wants you to be uncomfortable. He wants you, although he wants you to be relaxed enough to tell him something, but Brady sitting down, unless he had something to sell, if it was TB12, but why now for Brady? Unless, hey, I'm out of New England, now I can take off the seatbelt, take off the shot, I can say whatever I want to say. But I don't know. Like, if I'm Tom Brady, do I need to do that? Do I care to do that? You going to talk about how Robert Kraft didn't have your back during Deflategate? You're going to talk about how you had no relationship personally with Bill Belichick? Okay. I don't know. What really happened in Deflategate? Is the interview still going on, Paulie?
Sources tell me it's still going on.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you nailed it, though. I think Brady is saying, hey, I can control my everything now. I don't have to be under the umbrella. Because I think when he's a Patriot, even though he's beyond reproach, he kind of followed the company line of let's keep it all in-house and not do these type of interviews. And he did that for 15 years. I could tell you for a fact the Howard Stern producers have been trying to get him for 15 years. Yeah. And this is the closest. This is the first time they got him, obviously.
I did an interview with Tom Brady for the back page of ESPN, the magazine, Outtakes. And we recorded it on a Monday night. And this was a long time ago. So this is probably 15 years ago. He was great. We talked for a half hour, fun questions. even at one point I said, "You sure you want to say that?" And he goes, "I don't know, do I?" I go, "You probably don't." I mean, it wasn't that controversial, but for him and the Patriots, it probably would have been. But he was great sense of humor, self-deprecating, just really interesting. And then when I would hear him at these press conferences, I was like, man, he has so much to tell you. And he can do it in an entertaining way. And maybe that's what Howard's going to get out of Tom Brady. If he does, then we all benefit from that. But I was surprised when I saw that Tom was going to sign up there. Yeah, Seton.
I think it's kind of hilarious just the way that this interview is being covered. Like, I mean, like, look at just the way that we're talking about it. Like, all right, as far as we know, the interview is still going on.
Is going
we
on.
believe Tom Brady is live. We're having breaking news coverage of this. Like, I mean, like, it's funny because it really speaks to sort of the star power of both of those guys that, like, Howard Stern is talking to Tom Brady. Holy crap, this is amazing. But I can't think of another time that one. It's like he's not testifying in front of Congress. He's doing an interview,
Well, he did an interview with Hillary Clinton that I was surprised that she went into, and it turned out to be a great interview from what he got out of her and the questions he asked her. I think that's what's interesting. But I look at it as a heavyweight title fight. What is Howard asking, and what will Brady cough up? And there's certain, Derek Jeter, I don't think would ever do this. But that's why I was surprised that Tom Brady would sit down. And he's not even in studio with Howard, because if he did that, that's when I think Howard moves in for the kill. If he has you in studio, then you're really in his world. But, yeah, you're right. It is a slow news day there, Seton. Maybe that's why this is.
Do you think that's contributing?
I led the show with a game from 1977 with Pete Maravich.
We believe the car has pulled into the lot. He is getting
he
out.
got out.
There is a microphone in hand.
Yeah. This program is brought to you by the great folks at LegalZoom. Need to make it legal? Make it LegalZoom.com. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. You can set up the estate plan without leaving your home. LegalZoom.com. We'll come up with a poll question. Got a stat of the day. Got a play of the day. Got a lot of things to talk about. McLevin, what are you sitting on today?
Okay, well, Paulie had a fun Tom Brady Howard Stern poll that I'll let him share.
Okay.
If you could get an honest take from Tom Brady, like where an honest conversation where he gives you everything on a topic.
Okay.
Bill Belichick, Giselle, Deflategate, Robert Kraft, other, where a series of questions where it's completely honest and he gives you everything. Like a chunk of the interview is just like, I want to hear this part.
The fact that it's Howard Stern, I would say Giselle. but that's just because it's Howard. I would want to know about Belichick. I would want to know how deep that disappointment or animosity, anger, frustration, whatever that might be. I think that's what I would want to know, because that'll always fascinate me. That Belichick is not going to dish on that, and maybe Tom does. But then Tom, it feels like Tom's already on to Tampa Bay, and why do that? Because then it just starts the news cycle back up again, and you're going to be, then you go to Belichick, and Belichick's not going to say anything, and then people in Tampa are going to ask Tom about this the next time he gets in front of the media there, but probably Belichick. Because I still go back to, not that you have to be best friends with the quarterback and the coach. I don't know Dan Marino's relationship with Don Shula. I always got the impression it was a deep respect for one another and appreciation. I don't know if you can play that position, be around somebody that amount of time, but be uncomfortable around that person. And that's what I always felt, that Brady was uncomfortable around Belichick, and maybe vice versa. But Brady in particular, Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw famously did not get along. And, Terry had issues with how he was coached by Chuck Noll. But that's not even close to 20 years that you're spending with somebody. 20 years where you show up and it's going to be the same guy acting the same way, no matter if I won a Super Bowl, an MVP, or, we got bounced in the second round of the playoffs. It doesn't matter to him. And I'm trying to think of other quarterback, like Drew Brees and Sean Payton. They have great respect and admiration and probably a friendship. Like that's pretty good. And Peyton Manning, Peyton and Tony Dungy, great relationship there. Friends. Do you have the Falcon uniforms, Paulie?
Yeah, and
oh boy,
the whiff.
Oh no,
the whiff.
Oh boy,
they look very Any Given Sunday.
Yes, I was going to say it's right out of a movie.
It looks like the movie Any Given Sunday. There's some white on whites with ATL instead of Atlanta or Falcons over the number. Then they have a red black uniform where the red transitions into black, like the Jaguars helmets. That's not working. But then on the right, they have a clean looking kind of 80s version where it's black jersey, white pants, red black stripe, and nice, great socks. Kind of the William Andrews type era.
Doesn't it feel like the second uniform is going to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers-esque?
Yeah.
It sort of looks like they borrowed the Buccaneers' old crappy numbers and repurposed them.
You throw in a mixture of the Jaguars and the Buccaneers, and you got the new Falcon uniforms here. The Rams got to be happy about this. Yeah, Paulie.
And they have Matt Ryan in a black on black uniform with black socks with a tough look. I'm a big Matt Ryan fan, but he is not going to intimidate me with a black uniform. He does not look like a tough guy. He looks like a great father and a good citizen and a really good quarterback.
What are the other poll questions we're looking at today, McLevin?
Okay, on Tom Brady, is he end up his career more Joe Montana, playoff run with the Chiefs, or Joe Namath, sort of lost with the LA Rams?
Oh, Joe Montana. I mean, Joe Namath wasn't healthy. I mean, it's not a fair comparison.
But all those guys, Emmitt Smith, we never expected them to fail. We always thought they'd go to their last team and do well.
Well, a running back at that age joining a new team, you can't expect much out of him. But Joe Namath was not healthy.
I don't remember. Oh, Joe. Okay. I don't remember us thinking Emmett was going to bomb with Arizona. I thought they paid him a ton of money.
Well, yeah, but they probably wanted somebody to make them relevant. Nobody cared about him. And then having Emmett there, the all-time leading rusher.
How about Johnny Unitas with the Chargers? I don't remember that at all. Did that do anything? Were there any guys?
No.
Would you say it's fair to say most guys flame out in their last stop?
But they're joining somebody in the twilight of their careers. How many have something left late in their careers where they're going to actually make an impact there?
And those guys are 5 years younger than Tom Brady. Why isn't Tom Brady?
Well, Joe Namath didn't. Joe Namath had knee issues when he was in college. Joe was a very athletic quarterback at Alabama. Then he had the knee surgeries, and then he became one of the great pocket passers. But and he didn't take care of himself off the field. Tom has taken care of himself off the field. He's made a business out of this.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Paulie's poll question, you said that you get an honest answer. Isn't Deflategate the obvious answer then? Because then we could get an honest answer from Tom.
Yeah, but I don't think Howard Stern's going to be interested in Deflategate as much as he is Gisele. Now, if Tom was going to be on this show and we could ask whatever we wanted to, then yeah, I'd want to know about Deflategate.
Okay, I was thinking this was like a truth serum poll question, but a Howard question.
Well, Paulie is saying it. Look, if you could get a totally honest answer from Tom Brady on the Howard Stern show, it would be about Gisele, not Deflategate. Yeah. On this show, it would be either about what is your relationship, really like, or how would you describe your relationship with Belichick? Deflategate, I would just want to know. Walk me through how you deflated the footballs.
Do you mean in an illegal way or a legal way?
What? An illegal way. Tell me about the deflator and who gave him that name. And did you think about giving him a different name than the deflator? Yeah, Paul.
It'd be great if like Howard or anyone asked Brady, wasn't it silly to have a rule whatsoever around footballs because all you guys had equal opportunity to fill them up or take them out, the air out as much as you like, which would be fair to everybody? Yeah. Isn't it a dumb rule? Is that why you did it? And if you start there, maybe you're like, yeah, it was a dumb rule, and that's why we did it our way.
And I've said that it is, I believe that the quarterback should be able to have a football to his liking. There's no competitive advantage that you have here. Aaron Rodgers wants it a little bit firmer. Fine. I mean, to me, I look at it like Sleep Number. My Sleep Number mattress, I have my firmness, and I should be able to have whatever I want with my mattress and my football. And that's what they should let these quarterbacks do. They're the one, if you say, here, Peyton Manning, here's your football. Tom, here's your football. That's it. It's not a big deal. But, what happened behind the scenes is what made it worse. It's a silly rule. But if you're lying about it, then you pay the price there. And that's what happened. But I don't think Howard's going to be as curious about Deflategate as he is Gisele.
Well, I think Howard is a man of science and understands that that whole thing is garbage anyway. So why waste time on it?
I still love the fact that Belichick did not have his back through that as much as he should have. Or Robert Kraft. I don't know. It felt like they were like, Tom was... What was the movie that George Clooney is in where he's floating in space? Is he with Sandra Bullock? Is that the...
Oh, Hot Astronauts in Space.
Something like that.
That's a good movie.
What's that movie where he acts like he's Dean Martin drinking all the time and then he floats off into space at the very end? That's what I always felt like. Brady was sort of out there floating in space and then all of a sudden he realized that the umbilical cord had been cut and he was like, wait, I'm... Do you guys remember that movie?
Gravity?
I don't know. Is that...
I think that's it.
Maybe.
Kind of Apollo something.
What wasn't that Spanish director who did this?
Hot Astronauts in Space is a much better
I thought
title.
Hot Astronauts in Space sounded a lot more
I saw
compelling,
that.
to be honest.
Yeah, that was on it. I think I saw that. It was Pornhub. And I think I
Fritzy.
saw that. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No comment.
Yeah.
Now it just turned into the Stern Show.
Yes, it did.
He
Time to take a break.
Clean it up. Cal Ripken's coming.
Yeah. Oh, it's true.
It's called Gravity. Dan.
Okay. Gravity. Is Sandra Bullock in that?
Oh, yeah. Sandra Bullock and George Clooney.
Okay. All right. God. I started off with Maravich from 1977 and I ended up with Gravity. How did we do it? We'll take a break. By the way, Maravich only twice. Oh, here's one. No, you know what? I'll wait. I'll wait on this. I don't want to get riled up again on Pete Maravich getting too offensive. He fouls out. Offensive foul. Scores, offensive foul. Basket waved off. Could have had 70. All right, we'll take a break. Cal Ripken will join us. We'll welcome your phone calls as well. 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle with DP Show. You can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. The Big German and Dylan got it all handled there, back in their little room. 22 after the hour. Back after this in The Dan Patrick Show. Discover is doing it again to help you out. Discover wants you to be able to check your credit score. It's called the FICO credit score, and it's really important to know it because it's used by 90% of top lenders. They want to know what your FICO credit scores are, and you can get that for free. Even if you're not a customer, checking out your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, it's free for everyone. Also, check out the Discover Credit Card. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations do apply. Here's Will in Oregon. Got some mail yesterday. I heard you say that you had never seen Mad Men. Now you can. Here's all 7 seasons. Bonnie Cornwell in Nashville, Tennessee. So she gave me her Mad Men DVDs. Well, that's very sweet of you, Bonnie. This is from Mike Engstrom, Senior Vice President, Warner Music. Heard the Nickelback discussion on the show last Friday. I work with their catalog. I sent some copies along. Come out and experience the band for yourself. I got all the Nickelback available on vinyl for the first time. So I would say I've got all of these, but I don't. The only one I have is that one because they sent me that one last week or the week before. It features Photograph, Rockstar, and Animals. This includes Someday, Because of You, Feeling Way Too Damn Good, Leader of Men, Old Enough, Breathe. So yeah, I've got the Nickelback catalog. So I'm pretty much set for this week. Mad Men and Nickelback. Well, thank you. Thank you for sending that in. This program brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes-AMG Driving Performance. By the way, I just was in the mailroom and I opened up a package. I've got all the Nickelback albums.
How many are there?
I think there's 5 or 6, but Warner Music, one of their vice presidents, sent it to me, and I have all the Nickelback albums on vinyl. Yeah. Got them all.
Sounds even better.
Got them all. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT 4-door coupe, because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. Mercedes-AMG. If you missed any of the interviews from the DP show, you can go to the DP show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG Driving Performance. I also got all 7 seasons of Mad Men.
Whoa.
Yeah, there was a nice woman in Tennessee who said, I heard you haven't watched an episode, so she sent me all of her DVDs. So I'm set. I've got all of my music with Nickelback, and I've got Mad Men. I am set for the next week or so. Yes, Eaton?
I think you'll like Mad Men. That's a hell of a show.
Yeah, I get it. But I've never watched an episode. I like John Hamm. Who's the woman from The Handmaid's Tale?
Oh.
What's her name?
Moss?
Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, Elizabeth Moss. Yeah, she's very talented. Yeah, Paul.
I think you'll love it. It's up there with as my all-time favorites. When I first heard the tagline for it, advertising men in New York back in the 50s and 60s or 60s, I was like, it's fantastic. I watched the whole series a bunch of times.
Yeah. People are wondering, who are these players with Matt Ryan in the Falcon uniforms? Because I just know, where's Julio Jones?
Who the hell are these guys?
I don't know who 45 is. I don't know what that number is. Is it 87 or 67? But he looks tough.
Long snapper, John Smith.
But I have no idea here. Jimmy in Chicago joins us. Hi, Jimmy. What do you have for me?
I know you were talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneer jerseys, the Creamsicles a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think the best sports jersey is? Maybe I'm biased because I'm from Chicago, but I think the Blackhawks jerseys are number one. And this goes way back, but I think one of the songs Seaton played from one of your breaks was Circles by Incubus, my favorite band, best album by them, Morning Dew.
All right. Well, thank you, Jimmy. I don't want to get into best uniforms today. I'd rather talk about worst uniforms. But the Blackhawks logo, I think, is the best. That is spectacular. I think it is. It is regal looking. It is beautiful. Blackhawks logo is great. Absolutely. But I'm looking at these Falcon jerseys, and I don't know. The ATL, they could have done something. They could have done a little bit more with that, I think, with the Falcons. But coming off, maybe if they did it before the Buccaneers did theirs, it might have helped a little bit there. But if you're a 13-year-old, and really, that's you're marketing to younger fans, not us, and you're going, are you interested in this? That's why, younger fans may be interested in that Rams new logo. I mean, they're not trying to sell it to me. They're trying to sell it to younger fans there. All right, we'll get to phone calls coming up. We're going to settle on a poll question, then we'll get to Cal Ripken.
Yeah, we put up that Brady poll. If you get a totally truthful answer, which would you want, Deflategate, Giselle. We took out the Howard Stern option. Just any Tom Brady question you want to ask.
Okay. I'm just saying that it's different for Howard than it would be for me of what he would be curious about. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't enjoy hearing Howard talk about Giselle to Tom Brady, but I would want to know about Deflategate and Bill Belichick. I just don't think that Tom Brady is dishing on, he's going to pull back the curtain on the Patriots. I don't see that happening. And, sometimes you can get frustrated when you're talking to somebody and you realize you're not going to get something out of them. But I think if Howard had Brady in person, then you probably get a lot more out of it because there's that disconnect that you have when you're trying to do it. And, even with, their setup that they have now, it's like it's not even normal setup that you have. And you're trying to do this, and it's difficult. Yeah, Paul.
And you've had people in studio before, and the body language on an answer, you could tell someone's hiding it, kind of being sarcastic. You could tell by someone's face whether they're not giving you everything.
Yeah. You can tell where somebody cringes or that you feel like they're not telling you everything that you want to hear. I mean, you're looking for nuance. You're looking for something subtle in what somebody says. And when you're in person with them, I found it a lot easier when you're there with them. Some people will disagree where you can almost, when you're talking to somebody on the phone, you feel like it's just you two on discussing this. When you sit down with lights, you got a suit on, you got makeup on, people are watching, it's not as personal. But I think Howard usually has these people in studio, and, that certainly helps with what he's trying to ask you. All right, so we're waiting for Cal Ripken. I don't know if...
Momentarily.
No, momentarily we'll have Cal Ripken. Hank Aaron, one of my childhood heroes, will join us coming up in the final hour. And Daniel Jeremiah, the NFL Network. I guess the big buzz is still what's going to happen with the Dolphins, what's going to happen with Tua. Who's taking a chance? And I do say chance on Tua. Is it going to be the Dolphins? Are the Chargers going to be interested? And I get why there's a smokescreen here. If you're the Dolphin, like I want you to think that we're going to do something that if you're the Chargers, you might have to do something. Because the Chargers can go, hey, we're interested in Tua. What are the Dolphins going to do? Dolphins going to go up to 3? Because if the Redskins are going to take Chase Young, absolutely. I mean, they'd be crazy not to. Is Rip ready to join us, Paulie?
Sure is.
Cal Ripken, you can help Cal Ripken Jr., the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation and its partners launch Strikeout Hunger 2020, Feeding America. Lend a helping hand during the challenging times. Join them by donating at ripkenfoundation.org/donate/strikeouthunger. Rip, how are you today?
I'm doing really good. If I could just say in a real quick thing, you did a really nice job of giving all the details. But our foundation has helped kids all across the country, and now we've shifted our focus temporarily to help the food insecurity. And I couldn't be prouder of our foundation. We put in $100,000. Our partners put in another $150,000, and I think other partners are adding money right now. So we got a really good start. But we want to help as many kids as we can, and that's all I'm asking for is a little help. $1 given is 10 meals distributed. So $5, $10 can go a long way.
Awesome. Well, it's great to talk to you. I don't know if you watched the re-air of your game last night on ESPN when you broke Lou Gehrig's all-time record. Have you watched that game?
I did. I realized last night that I hadn't watched it in its entirety, from start to finish. And listening to Chris Berman and Buck Martinez, that was kind of fun. And then listening to Earl Weaver and John Miller and everybody else. And it's actually fun. I like going back and looking at myself then because I was kind of skinny. But to see the other guys, to see Chris Berman, how youthful he looks. I mean, it's 25 years ago that happened. It's amazing.
You gave your jersey and hat to your family.
Uh-huh.
Now, was that to make sure it didn't go to the Hall of Fame, that you wanted to keep it?
No.
Okay.
No, I was given by my kids that morning the black T-shirt that said 2131 hugs and kisses for Daddy. And my daughter was 5 and my boy was 2. And so I didn't really have it figured out, but I wanted to show them that I wore my jersey.
Oh.
I mean, I wore the T-shirt underneath. and I was thinking about unbuttoning and kind of showing it to him. And then I got the idea in the midst of that 22-minute ovation. I kept coming out embarrassed to say thank you all those times in a row. But I came out and I took my jersey off, and I asked Butch, the clubhouse guy, to go get another jersey from my locker. And so I brought this jersey out and gave it to him. But the whole design was so they could see that I wore the T-shirt.
Oh, okay. Because I wasn't sure, but that you took it off. And then I noticed Rafael Palmeiro and Bobby Bonilla, like they were saying, go back out there. Like I think after the second one, you're like, I'm a little uncomfortable here. With a curtain
I was
call.
thinking about that. I remember it that Rafael and Bobby Bo were the two people, but if I really remember correctly, it was Rafi's idea. Bobby Bo took ownership of it because he wanted to push me out there. Jeffrey Hammonds was in on it. I think Leo Gomez was there, and I think we all didn't know what to do. Nobody could have written that sort of script, but we were saying, God, we got to get this game going on. I was kind of embarrassed that Mike Mussina was pitching, and it was like a long rain delay for him. And then they said, you got to take a lap. And I'm going, I'm not taking a lap around this park. And I might even said, that's a dumb idea. And then when they pushed me down there, and I started to see people's faces that I knew, I started to see some people that I knew their names. And then the celebration turned from this huge outpouring, from upper decks and lower decks into a real intimate celebration. So it was pretty amazing.
But what was bizarre, though, Rip, is we knew that it was going to happen. It wasn't like you were Kirk Gibson and you just homered off Dennis Eckersley in the World Series. It was, hey, this is going to be an official game when it's an official game. And then all of a sudden we're like, let's go crazy. It's an official game. Congratulations, Cal Ripken.
You kind of summed that up pretty good. I didn't know this, but I was talking to Tim Kirchin yesterday, and Tim Kirchin said, at game number 2008, they started the banner on the warehouse. And I remember the first time the banner on the warehouse, they started playing this music when the game became official, whether it's 4.5 or whether it was 5, depending upon if you were ahead or not. And then all of a sudden, the number would fall down, and there would be a new number on the warehouse. And so it almost brought the fans along to that moment of the number dropping, which created its own drama in itself. So, and I think it was just an accumulation of, all the years. And I think for personally, one of the things that I enjoyed most about that year-long celebration was that everybody related to, showing up. They related to the work ethic of a perfect attendance in school or never missing a day of work, or they took pride in that. So I heard everybody's streaks that they had in their own lives. And I thought that was pretty interesting that, we as athletes, I could never be a basketball player and guard Shaquille O'Neal down low because, you don't have the size. In baseball, it seems like you can be any size. And it's interesting that a work ethic or how you go about your job, everybody can relate to that as well. So that was really fun for me.
Did you ever miss, school because you were sick?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
I didn't. Here's the amazing part is that because I did miss a game, people think that I have this obsession and I had perfect attendance in school and everything was, but I always laugh because, people looked at not missing a day of work and I go, that's a real streak. And I say, because I don't work.
Yeah.
I play a game for a living. I don't have to grow up, but you can be a kid until you're, in my case, 41.
But how do you avoid injury, though? There's a little bit of luck. I don't know how much strategy, but you're playing shortstop. There's plays at, second base. I don't know how many times you got hit by a pitch during that streak, but it's amazing.
You could get hurt in any number of ways, and the freakish sort of ways. And there was many people that were on the disabled list for things that they did at home. And so I remember People Magazine was asking me, do I not cut up my own food? Do I not use knives? Do I? So there were different things that they were asking me to kind of avoid home accidents. But the truth of the matter is, I did get injured. I mean, everybody that plays the game is going to have nagging injuries, and you have to deal with a certain amount of nagging injuries. if I play 162 or somebody plays 152 or 145, it's a similar sort of feeling all the way through. I did have a good set of genes. I healed really well. So if I hit a line drive off my instep, hit a ball down on my foot, it would hurt like nobody's business. But when you look at it the next day, I didn't have the swelling, and I didn't have but other people could hit a ball off their foot. It could swell up, and then they couldn't move their foot or ankle, and they would go on a disabled list. So I had a good set of genes. But the best part about it is when you do play through an injury and then you force yourself to go through, and then there's light on the other side and you do well, then you have confidence that the next time that happens, you can do it. So I always thought the key to anyone playing all those games in a row, do it once. And if you finish strong in September, you've answered the question whether you were capable of doing it or not. And then it's just a matter of keeping that same approach each and every year.
Before I let you go, help me understand how baseball could pull this off where they could get all 30 teams in Arizona and play a baseball season.
If you put on your analytical brain, which I can't turn off, the hurdles and the challenges are almost intimidating to, sort of an idea like that. But I think I stepped back a little bit. I was happy. My first reaction was I was happy that Major League Baseball is working so hard to bring it back in some shape or form. So I guess given the fact that if we can have it in some form, because I do think baseball is healing in some ways. Sport is healing to all of us in our day-to-day lives. I witnessed that, and I would have never thought after 9/11 the role that baseball played in that short term. I thought was pretty phenomenal to allow us to distract, to dive into baseball and I think in this case none of us have been through anything like what we're going through now, and so I look for some signs of normalcy, and for my world I'd love to see the guys back on the field playing baseball in some way, shape, or form. So I could get that in my daily life.
Good luck here, Rip, and great to talk to you. It's Strikeout Hunger 2020 with Cal Ripken. Great to talk to you. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Dan, how are you doing through all this? I often wonder, everyone's work is affected. You guys can do things digitally, and you can still go on, but you don't have all the information and the content that you usually have.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit more challenging, but I think it's brought us closer together with my guys because now we're in constant contact. Now we're looking for things that are interesting to us and you hope interesting for your audience. So you're just, each day you think differently than taking it for granted that, hey, I'm going to recap what LeBron did last night. Then you go, like I have Hank Aaron on later today. I have the Oregon basketball player, Sabrina Ionescu. We'll talk the NFL draft. So you're just kind of bouncing around. It's a game of pinball every day, but it's a different game of pinball.
So you'll be better off as a result of this in some ways if you have an optimistic view.
Yes. I'm a 5-tool announcer here.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Rip.
All right. See you, Dan.
That's Cal Ripken Jr. Cal Ripken Jr., who I'll tell you a funny story about Rip when we come back. We'll come back with our play of the day after this on the Dan Patrick Show.
If it wasn't for graffiti art, I wouldn't be doing this today. If it wasn't for me understanding how to work with the medium of spray paint, I wouldn't be doing this today.
I was looking for an artist, but I wanted somebody who could do street art. I wanted something that had a lot of color in it, and I had to have some large images here because the walls are so big.
I'm used to doing large projects. What I was intimidated by was the timeline that we had to do this project and to have it done by. And that was kind of a wake-up call.
I just gave him instructions, and he's the one that created the magic.
Dan was amazing when it came to the design.
And I said, all right, I want to have matchups that never happened. Jerry West against James Harden, Bron against Michael, then we had Shaq against Wilt. And I said, can you do these images? And he said, you just tell me what you want me to do.
Really just kind of absorbed what they were envisioning and, who they wanted to represent here.
I just gave him instructions, and he's the one that created the magic. I say, just send me a picture of what you accomplished that night. And it'd be like 2, sometimes 3 in the morning, and he would send me a picture of what he did. I couldn't wait to get in here just to see what he was going to do next.
The best clients ever. You have clients that kind of go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and no, not Dan. Dan loved it right off the bat.
All right, guys. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they did not go creamsicle late 70s, orange on white on orange. But they did go throwback to better than now uniforms is what I'm calling them. They're nice. They're clean. They're kind of like the Keyshawn Johnson days, Dan. And, they got the white with the orange, then the orange with the white and the pewter. But then they have a third uniform. They're going pewter on pewter, and it's not putrid. It's the opposite. It's awesome. What do you think? The second picture, the guy running with the ball, he looks very
It's almost
fast.
like a matte black kind of feel to the color, right?
Yeah, it's almost like Bowling Green and the MAC has a uniform like this, which
I'm just glad they cleaned up the numbers.
yes,
Because didn't they call those calculator numbers?
digital clocks. Yep.
Yeah, it didn't look good. But
Those are pretty terrible.
Like, I was just looking for that improvement, and I think you wait to roll out the creamsicle.
Right.
I mean, that's a big rollout. I think Giselle's involved in that. I think that's a bigger production here than just let's change the the numerals on these jerseys.
Anybody have any issues? Anyone?
I have a big issue with that. I was expecting the creamsicle, but maybe they're playing some kind of game like a Color Rush week, or they're waiting for some kind of special occasion to do that, and then all of a sudden, bang, the creamsicle comes out. Maybe they put that out as a little salvo to see if they're going to get the criticism the Rams got, and if people are upset with it, then they have creamsicle in their back pocket as a last resort if people are unhappy.
Okay. Marketing strategy there.
Pearl?
I like that apparently you have to flex when you're wearing this because all three of these
Yeah. These won't look as good on guys like us.
Yeah. It's not really the same effect with my arms as it is with theirs.
Yeah. Why not a punter? Why not a slovenly punter in here?
Somebody who looks like us, so then we can see ourselves in those uniforms if we're going to buy those. But it's amazing how good a uniform looks when the team is actually good, and how bad the uniform looks when the team is not very good. So if they're, let's say, 4-8, these probably don't look that good. 8-4, looking pretty good. That's why people had a problem with the creamsicle, because the team wasn't any good when they had the creamsicle.
Right.
So that's why there was like, oh, those are terrible uniforms. No, they were a terrible team. Therefore, the uniforms were terrible.
Tainted by badness, these 79 Buccaneers.
If the Steelers wore that color, creamsicle, back in the 70s with Chuck Noll and Mean Joe Green, Terry Bradshaw, people would have loved it.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day.
Check this out.
Gotta go fast. Jerome gives it up. Far side. Hunter hits the three to tie it. Oh my goodness, with 12 seconds remaining.
A year ago today, Virginia, Texas Tech went into OT. Virginia coming out on top. It was Virginia's first NCAA title. A little Blink-182, I Miss You, courtesy of CBS. Play of the day. Play of the day brought to you by LegalZoom. No matter what happens, you want to take care of your loved ones. LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Cal Ripken was hit 57 times by a pitch during that entire streak of 2,632 games. A lot of luck went into that, but Rip's a big guy, too. He's about 6'4". But, you know, you're playing shortstop, and you can accidentally break something and then not be able to play. The story I was going to tell you, I was at a Preakness party, and Cal Ripken was there, among other, some NCAA coaches were there. And I was standing with Cal, and this woman comes up. She goes, I know you. I know you. And Rip goes, you know, because you're in Baltimore. And he goes, yes, no, I know you. I know you. And you could just see where Ripken is going, yeah, I mean, come on ahead. You know, say I'm the great one. You know, I'm unbelievable. I my streak. Steve Wilkos. Steve Wilkos. From the Springer Show. Steve has his own show now, but he was the director of security on the Jerry Springer Show. And I was doing my best to not laugh because she goes, Steve. And then you could just see where Rip's going, wait, call me Steve. Not even Billy, his brother. And he, yeah, Jerry Springer Show. And I go, oh, I just started. Yeah, and I said, hey, Mr. Iron. When she left, I go, hey, Mr. Iron Man. He goes, oh, gosh. He goes, I didn't know what to do. What should I have done there? I go, no, you handled yourself. You were good. She thinks that you're Steve from the Jerry Springer Show. Honey, you'll never guess who I met today. Steve Wilkos from the Jerry Springer Show.
Yeah, from Springer.
Yeah. Heidi, coming up next hour, are the Dolphins really interested in Tua? Are the Chargers interested in Tua? Who's willing to move up? What games are being played here? We'll talk to Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network. Hank Aaron will join us in an hour from now, and Sabrina Ionescu, the Oregon All-American basketball player. All of that coming up. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Broadcasting from a responsible social distance.
I got Fritzy at home, McLovin at home, Seton at home. Paulie is here in the man cave.
Dan Patrick and the Danettes bring you the best in sports-ish kind of talk.
It's Damian Lillard who joins us on the program from my Portland Trailblazers. How's the house?
Built me a little recording studio out inside the house. I got me a game room set up.
Bringing Bob Nightingale. If we do play baseball, who would be the favorite to win it all this year?
I think the Dodgers are loaded. I love that Mookie Betts trade. When baseball comes back, I don't know how much fans are going to be jumping all over the Astros. It's like, with all we've gone through, are we really going to boo these guys? Do we really care that much about baseball cheating?
And now, from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Hour 2 on this Wednesday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Glad to be part of your life. We got the Danettes on remote, Fritzy, McLovin, and Seton at home. Paulie's in front of me, and the boys in the back are holding down the fort as we try to plow through all of this. A couple of things going on. Oklahoma State head football coach Mike Gundy has been widely criticized for saying that he plans to start his football program May 1st. To be clear, Gundy didn't say that he was going to do that in a vacuum. He said it depended on the widespread ability to test. And still, Gundy is running into the same problem several sports officials are having, and that's putting a date on something that is out of our control. And I understand part of it. Sports is a business. Let's make no mistake about that. College football, big business here. There is an urgency to get back to being normal. It'd be a huge morale boost for the country. I get that. But right now, it's hard to think that any schedule is going to be able to hold a lot of weight. You listen to the experts, they don't know. They're clear on one thing. We don't know where this is going. And that's the experts saying this. So people in the world of sports certainly don't know. No matter what Mike Gundy's intentions are or were, there's too much unknown to pin down any date other than to say we'll get back as soon as we can. Here is Mike Gundy, the Oklahoma State head coach, talking about May 1st.
We have to have a plan, and the plan right now is for that to start on May 1st. It might get backed up 2 weeks. I don't know. I can't make that call.
And Gundy also had this to say about his employees and his players.
I'm thinking in 3 or 4 weeks we could have the test ready available for people that aren't sick based on, can we test the employees, the 100 people that work in our building, and we can swab them and clear them to come into the building and get back to work. Once we've done that, I'm looking to start testing the players and bring them back.
Gundy's pushing for something different. Now, these aren't professional players. Through all of this, you know what I'm amazed about is we sort of treat the athlete like he's disposable. Like, this is for us. Hey, do this for us. Hey, get out there and do this for us. You have to start thinking about the athletes as well. These are the student athletes, or as I call them, athletic students. Let's, not go down that silly semantics road here. They're student athletes here. No, they're athletic students is what they are. Gundy said that, if I can get them out there, you're a college coach, you're always looking for an advantage. You're always looking to try to get, ahead of the competition. I understand all of that. You can think these things of when you want them to come back. I think he got into trouble because he verbalized this. If it's too dangerous for colleges to open their doors to students this fall, or even now, then it's dangerous for football programs to think they can be up and running on campus as well. It just is. So as much as he wants to do this, Dana White wants to hold UFC bouts somewhere, talking about an island, maybe an Indian reservation where there's no rules there. But, the WWE is still holding events where guys are wrestling with each other. Now, no fans there. So we're starting to see a little bit of this, but we got cabin fever. We want normalcy. The president has told the commissioners, hey, let's try to push this. Baseball's ambitious, trying to get back. The NBA doesn't know what it's doing. Golf, let's push everything to the fall. I understand that. But there's other things that are far more important that will eventually get to sports, where everybody's safe or safer or protected. I don't know if anybody's going to go to a game, want to go to a game. We cordoned off everybody. Baseball in Arizona, which I don't think is practical. Ambitious, but not practical. You can think these things. It's just when baseball leaked this to ESPN, they wanted to see what the reaction was. That's what happened. And now we're going, we're going to have baseball. They're going to be in Arizona. Everybody's going to move there. Players are going to be, quarantined for 4 months away from their families. No, they're not. I don't see this happening. I don't think the NBA is happening. I think college and pro football will probably be delayed a little bit here. We'll have golf eventually. It feels like we could have golf now if we wanted to, or at least close to that. But getting players tested, we're trying to get enough tests for people. People are dying. People are sick. I don't need a test for Rory McIlroy so he can get out and, play 18. I like that we think, this is what makes us a great society. We think of different things. But, using that brain power for something more important is what needs to happen. Not, hey, May 1st, we're planning on getting out there at Oklahoma State. Okay, good luck with that. Yeah, Paul.
I think you nailed it. I don't think people have a problem with someone having a plan or putting steps in place when things clear up, air quotes. But for him to say it now, it's like, okay, keep your plan to yourself and don't go forward with it. But people are looking for people to jab in situations like this.
Well, you just don't want to be careless. If Dana White wants to have fighters who fly into a remote island, he wants to do this. And I think there's a bigger picture here with, Dana White with UFC. I think that this is basically money because they were bought for what, $4 billion? And I'm going to guess that those people would like to have some money back. They want to get some money back on their investment, and every day, every weekend that goes by, you're not getting money on your investment there. Now, if you can do this and you want to put it out there and you want to be able to have fights and you want to do it on an Indian reservation or you want to do it on a remote island, okay. If these fighters know going in what's at risk, okay. But I'm guessing Dana White is a big supporter of Donald Trump. Donald Trump getting all the commissioners together. And, his message was probably, let's start to push this a little bit. And Dana White is probably doing what the president wants him to do. Let's try to push to get back to normalcy. And I just think we're at a dangerous time right now. 2 weeks from now, let's see. We know how this changes every week, day to day, hour to hour. And New York had its biggest jump in deaths so far in one day. That was yesterday. We don't know what's happening and how big it's going to get. Maybe it does level off. And then we can start to make some inroads on this. But until then, Mike Gundy should not be talking about playing football on May 1st. You can hope, but you just can't do this. Can't do it. And he was criticized and rightfully so because it feels careless. These are kids. They're not paid. And hey, you guys get out there. Okay? The guys who are getting paid aren't out there. But those athletic students, let's get them out there. Come on, guys. Let's go. Who's with me? Yeah, Paulie.
It's interesting because Mike Gundy, until now, was always considered this kind of fun-loving guy who had some wild press conferences and a great mullet.
Yeah.
He really hasn't dipped his toe into this stuff too often, at least on the national level.
I like Mike Gundy. I think he's a character, but I just think he's wrong in this situation. You can't be careless with this because players will do what their coach is asking them to do, and that's where the coach has to be cautious with them. Let's say your kids are at Oklahoma State, wherever they are, getting to campus. So campus isn't safe for students, but somehow because you're an athlete, you're not going to be affected by this. And they'll probably use this against him in recruiting. If I'm at Oklahoma or, one of the other Big 12 schools and I'd be like, You don't want to go there. He didn't care about you. He wanted to bring these kids back during the coronavirus. Like, who knows, as cutthroat as that is. But I think there's some real issues there. Also, I saw where some people are saying, what's the big deal about a virtual draft? Isn't it always a virtual draft? It's always by remote. Well, this is Pro Football Focus Sam Monson. He says, drafts are always remote. Well, okay, but Sam, I'm sure, understands that you get everybody in one room on remote. Getting the pick in is not the hard part here, folks. The hard part is connecting with your staff. When somebody goes, oh my gosh, this guy fell on our lap, do we want him? You got 15, 20 guys in a war room, and you right there, you can talk to one another. Now, because it's, via remote, now I got to call you, and maybe he's got to call somebody. That's the mess that all of this is. And let's say the clock is winding down. You got 4 minutes to go, and somebody says, all right, we want to trade with the Lions. We want to move up. Now I have to have a group conversation. So now Matt Patricia and his staff have to get together and go, okay, what do we want here? That's the problem with this. Not that it's via remote. We know everybody's in their war rooms, but everybody is in their war rooms. That's the key. Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus says, all that needs to change is add one more conference call line for teams to communicate internally as well as to the league, hardly testing the very limits of our technological capability. He also goes on to say, people realize the NFL draft is already remote. It's not like they held the thing in a giant gymnasium with everyone in attendance. I just think trying to get everybody, and if you have a conference call, okay, great. But I do think the technological part of this could play a role. Hopefully it doesn't, but it could play a role. Also, I'm told they're going to do a rehearsal draft. That all the teams will do a rehearsal draft. I was told some teams were already doing that or in the process of rehearsing how they will disseminate information with each other, where they will be, and getting in touch. Yeah, I had somebody say yesterday, people think the Cowboys got an unfair advantage because Jerry Jones is with his son. And I go, okay. Wow, that's quite an advantage. I don't think anybody viewed that as an advantage before, that Jerry Jones and his son were together. Peter King brought this up in his column on Monday, and he talked about would the Dolphins, would it be smart to go up and get Joe Burrow? And would it be smart for the Bengals to take that offer of 3 number ones this year and a number 1 next year, let's say? And Peter points out both sides to this, that if the Dolphins truly think he is that exceptional, that special, then okay, go get your franchise quarterback. If the Bengals think we can find somebody as good, if they like Justin Herbert, maybe not as much, but if I can get 4 number ones, I still go back to the same thought process I have when we talk about these trades. It's one thing to have draft picks. It's another thing to use them wisely. Because Cleveland Browns had draft picks, and they didn't do well with those draft picks. The teams that have the draft picks and they use them correctly, then I would feel like if the Bengals front office is great with drafting, then I would feel confident in saying, all right, guys, I'm going to give you 4 number ones here that you can play with, 3 this year and 1 next year, and we're going to trade Joe Burrow. Because I would have the confidence in my team to say, we're going to keep Andy Dalton in place, and we're going to go out and get 3 starters this year and another one next year. And we're going to be a fuller team. But if I don't have confidence in my front office, it doesn't matter how many picks you have. It's what you do with them. And that's what's always lost on people. We'll talk to Daniel Jeremiah. He covers the NFL draft. He'll be part of, I don't even know if he's going to be at home during the draft with NFL Network. So we'll talk to Daniel Jeremiah. He'll join us coming up. If you'd like to watch, you can on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show, or you can listen if you'd like. The DP Show store open for business. We have a lot of new T-shirts there. The Quarantine This T-shirt, Tampa Bay, plus the Beer Here T-shirt. That's to help aid hourly and service industry workers who have been impacted by the pandemic. Go to danpatrick.com to check those out. We spoke a little bit about what Howard Stern and Tom Brady are going to talk about. They have had a conversation, I think, for a couple hours on Howard's Sirius satellite channel. And I didn't think Brady would dish too much. And if I'm knowing Howard wants to know about Giselle. Paulie, do you have anything from Tom Brady? Are they done talking?
I don't think they're done. I think they're 2 hours in. But the clip that's going around, Howard asked Tom of kind of when he first thought that he'd be done with the Patriots.
Okay.
I don't think there was a final decision, until it happened. But I would say I probably knew before the start of last season that it was my last year. And I tried to, I knew that, it was just our time was, our time was coming to an end.
So he knew before the start of last season. But the indications were there. We chose not to read them. Puts his house up for sale. Adjust his contract. His trainer, business partner, put his house up for sale. So Brady was basically saying, I'm preparing to not be here next season. We ignored it because we're thinking, why would he leave? Got a great chance to win. He'd be crazy to leave. Where's he going to go? And then all of a sudden you go, he's leaving. He's gone. He's now with Tampa. So he was telling us all along. It was right there in front of us. And I kept thinking he has to go back. Even though he may not like this man, he does respect this coach with getting the best out of him and giving him another chance to win. What I didn't gauge is the same thing that I went through at ESPN and people had a hard time gauging. Why would you leave ESPN? And I said, I wasn't having fun anymore. It was just that simple. I wanted to just have fun and do something on my own. This might not be about winning for Brady as much as having fun playing and then maybe winning. His legacy's set. No matter what happens here in Tampa, it's not going to be, sullied, soiled. Seton, yes?
Right up until, I don't know, when did Tom Brady sign? Like 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? Whatever. Right up until that moment, I thought the idea of Tom Brady leaving New England was the dumbest thing I had ever heard in my entire life. And anyone reporting it was just like throwing garbage out into the air.
Yeah. Paulie lost $500.
5 sheets.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing I'd ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah, McLovin.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I honestly didn't buy it until the very end. But Tom Curran, I feel like, was way ahead of the curve on this. He must have known something, right?
Yes, he did. Him and Jeff Darlington. I go back to, I don't know how many weeks ago. Is it 5 weeks ago that I sent a text message to Tom Curran? And I said, Brady's going to go back to the Patriots. I'll bet you anything. And he goes, name it. And I went, ooh, okay.
Scoreboard.
Oh, name it. And I went, okay, maybe he's not going back there. Yeah. So Brady is there with Howard, and I don't know what. I'm sure Howard's got a lot of, because he's very curious, but I don't know if you're going to get Brady to spill on Deflategate or Giselle or any of that. It's not that Howard won't ask, but I can't see Tom doing that. Yeah, McLevin.
We put up the poll. What would you most like to know Tom Brady to answer truthfully? And Bill Belichick is like 70% over Deflategate and Giselle. Everyone wants to know about Belichick.
I sort of know about Deflategate, I think. And I think it's a silly rule. But, if you're going to lie to the commissioner or, whatever, then you're going to pay a price. But I think that quarterbacks should be able to have a football to their liking. I couldn't care less with that. The Belichick part of this is always fascinating. I think it'll always be fascinating because I don't think we'll get answers. I just don't. You show up for work and you know that person makes you better and has helped make, and look, it's reciprocated. Belichick knows that guy made me the greatest coach of all time. That guy helped me be the greatest coach of all time. But the Mutual Admiration Society, it felt like there was always about 3 minutes every year when they won a Super Bowl where you felt like they're showing emotion. They're hugging each other. And that's it. So that's worth all of that friction that you may have, that not animosity, but you feel like you're just not respected. and you get those 3 minutes where you're hugging at the Super Bowl and you feel like, hey, that was worth it. And then I think Brady just got to the point and said, I want to play 2 more years, but I'm going to do something different. Firmly established, greatest quarterback of all time. I got nothing to prove. And anybody who thinks, oh, he's got a lot to prove here, I think Belichick has more to prove than Brady does. Because Brady, we're going to give a little more leniency to going to the Buccaneers. First year, what do you expect? I think they're a playoff team. And if you just take away the mistakes there, what they had last year with Jameis, then they're probably a 10-win team. They're a playoff team last year. They have talent there, pretty good nucleus there, firm up the offensive line, and I think you can have some fun in that division. Carolina's on a rebuild. Atlanta feels like they plateaued. Saints are going to be very good. But Belichick, all right, you got rid of him. You didn't want him. Jared Stidham, all right, let's see what you got. Now, maybe you look at the AFC East and say, Buffalo's good, but the Dolphins getting better, the Jets are the Jets. All right, you probably pencil in 10 wins for them, even if they have Jared Stidham. But I think Bill's got more to prove than Tom does. We'll take a break here. Daniel Jeremiah, he'll be covering the NFL draft for the NFL Network. He'll join us coming up. Hank Aaron, he will join us coming up top of next hour. And Sabrina Ionescu, the Oregon All-American basketball player, will join us as well. Your phone calls are welcome, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle @DP-SHOW. 21 after the hour, this is the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, email, Instagram, but what about checking something as important as your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy. And best of all, it's free. Discover is offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, and you get that for free. And even if you're not a customer, checking your score won't hurt your credit. You can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard. It's free for everyone. Also, you can learn about that Discover credit card. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. We interrupt Meat Madness to bring you a new Danimation, and we started this a couple weeks ago. I found a great animator, and we go back with the classic moments in DP show history, and we make a cartoon out of it. And one of the great Wheel of Punishments we ever had was when Seton lost a bet to Fritzy, and Seton spun the wheel. I think it came down to a Friar Tuck haircut or 5 random pies to the face. He never knew when he was going to get pie to the face, but there were 5 random pies. And here's our Danimation on that Wheel of Punishment. One of our favorite Wheel of Punishments was when Seton had to get 5 pies at 5 random places. And this stemmed from a bet he had with Fritzy, the Broncos versus the Patriots in the AFC title game in January of 2016. Seton didn't know when he was going to get these pies, where he was going to get these pies. There were some people who said that's a pretty light sentence for Seton. It turned out to be one of our favorites, especially with the payoff of J.J. Watt at the Super Bowl in San Francisco delivering the blow. And I remember at the time the Danettes were like, that's kind of a disappointing Wheel of Punishment. It turned out to be great. Was Jim Harbaugh was with us, and he coached him into taking a self-inflicted pie to the face as Seton smashed his face down.
He intimidated him into hitting himself in the face with the pie. Harbaugh.
I saw where you can now bet legally on politics. West Virginia, you can bet on politics there. Politics are now covered more like sports anyway, but I guess you can. I don't know what you're betting on. I guess who's going to win, but there's sports books in West Virginia. You're voting on politics.
I like to parlay a city councilman and a governor and the under on the voting totals.
I've been watching a lot of these old, classics, and I was watching the Bears-Colts Super Bowl, and I only watched, the first 2 minutes, and that's all I needed to watch. I know how it ends, obviously, but I go back to the story that Tony Dungy tells me, and he's told us on this show. He was not kicking to Devin Hester. Absolutely not. We made that decision during the week. We're not kicking to Devin Hester. Well, for some reason, Tony decides he's kicking to Devin Hester. And I'm watching the beginning of the Super Bowl, and I go, oh, it's ready to start. All I want to see is the kickoff, Devin Hester, and then Tony Dungy's reaction. Because you can just see where he goes, I can't blame anybody but me here. That was the brief hope that you had, Paulie. Devin Hester takes it back, and then all of a sudden, it went bad. Yeah, Paulie.
I remember as there's 14 minutes left in the game, like Rex Grossman has a chance to win a Super Bowl, which does not compute.
Yeah. And it didn't compute either. Daniel Jeremiah, star of the NFL Network analyst there, Chargers color analyst, and worked with the Ravens, Browns, and Eagles as a scout. You can see Daniel, the Path to the Draft, Monday through Friday at 8 Eastern on NFL Network. Daniel, where are you right now?
I am in the family room, Dan. There's a puzzle that's been about 80% complete next to me for the last 4 weeks that is yet to be completed, and I'm just sitting out here by myself. My kids are all still asleep because apparently we're doing night school over here, where they finish up like at 11 and then go to bed.
Where are you going to be doing the draft from in your house?
I'll be in my office, which is about 15 paces away. I was going to do, how Corden does like the carpool karaoke, like get a ride to work. I was going to do one for myself from my closet to my office, but the episode would last about 6 seconds, so I didn't think it would be all that good.
I know that people are looking at this virtual draft and saying that this should be easy to pull off because the teams are on remote anyway, but you can have conference calls or, you can have a conference call line there. But if you were part of, one of the scouts for one of these teams, like what could you see as a possible hiccup with this, aside from just, technologically, if a line goes down or the internet goes down?
Well, I would say there's some people that you talk to that have not really any concerns at all. And there's others that are concerned. And I've been in draft rooms where it's done differently, Dan. I think if you're doing it right in terms of, how you stack the board, where you are with medical information on players, all that stuff should be done ahead of time. So, I mean, literally, you're in the room and your general manager has the list, the order of the players. You know the kind of guys you'd want to trade up for. Those have been highlighted. All that hay is in the barn, and so it's a little bit easier to pull off. But there are other teams where you'll be on the clock, and they'll ask the doctor, well, do you really think we shouldn't take this guy? Like, whoa, that decision should have been made a long time ago.
Yeah.
We don't need to be talking about that now. So I think that's the difference between those. But the one area that everybody agrees will be a little bit tricky, and that's why I think they're going to scrimmage it, is the trades. But again, I think this is going to place a greater importance on getting that worked out or ironed out now. And people will say, well, you can't do that. You don't know what's going to happen. Well, you can. Because if I'm picking 17 and I'm the Cowboys, I would call every team that's picking ahead of you before the draft starts and just say, hey, under a scenario where there's a player that we want that's in your pick and you are not happy with what's there and you would look to get back, let's work out what that parameters of that trade would look like. And you're going to get that all down now. So then if that pops up, you don't have to start at the very beginning of the process, because I just think it would be very difficult to pull off.
Which team do you think changes the draft?
I think Miami is the team because they hold all the cards with as many picks as they have, and the fact that they need a quarterback. Will they try and go up, or will they be patient and sit and wait at number 5 to see who falls to them? That, to me, that changes the complexion of the draft, and it's really interesting because right behind them you have the Chargers, and those two teams are the two that along with the Bengals are the quarterback teams. So that to me, Miami kind of holds some keys there to what happens.
I had a source tell me yesterday, don't get played by these rumors of the Dolphins are interested in Justin Herbert. And I said, hey, I'm just reporting what some people are reporting. Do you believe the Dolphins? If I ask them right now, who are you most interested in? Do you think they have a definitive answer?
I would always say my gut says yes, that Chris Greer knows what they're going to do. But there's been reports in the past of teams deciding, 2 days before the draft, which is crazy to me. But I know Chris a little bit, and I think he would have that answer by this point in time. All I say on the Herbert Tua thing is, I've talked to people that are very connected inside that building, and they say there is support for Tua and there is support for Herbert. And I think that the Tua medical thing is what kind of puts a wrench in it. If Tua was 100% healthy, I would probably go with, okay, this Herbert stuff is smokescreen. But the fact that it's a different case with his health. So that's why I actually buy into the fact that I think Herbert's in play there.
I do too, because I'm just looking at this logically, which is probably the wrong approach, and that is you don't know about Tua. There's a great unknown, and if you're going to move up to get him, or if I take somebody who I think is the sure thing, then, or at least he's healthy. Justin Herbert doesn't have a trail of injuries like Tua does. If they're both, healthy, then Tua is going to the Dolphins, I would imagine. But it feels like every year you have the rise and fall of quarterbacks. A couple of weeks ago it was Jordan Love. Then you had Justin Herbert who was getting it. Now it's Tua, the rise and the fall with Tua. Joe Burrow has separated himself from this, but it feels like every draft we build up a quarterback and then we start to tear him down a little bit before the draft.
No, I think there's something to that. And I would say I compared the Dolphins' decision. If you have Tua and Herbert, remember the show, I guess it's still on, Let's Make a Deal. Like, I don't think that, I don't think Herbert has this incredible upside. I've compared him to like the dishwasher, which you can see the dishwasher. It's a nice dishwasher. You're not necessarily in love with the dishwasher, but you know what it is. That's Herbert. And then Tua is what's behind the curtain. You don't know if that's a week vacation to Bahamas or a broom. That's why it's the known versus the unknown.
I want honest answers here. I want you to tell me the downside to Joe Burrow is what?
He does not have a huge arm. And if you were going to say, what would the concern be? Well, some people will say that a handful of games you might play in really bad weather in Cincinnati in that division, that would be a challenge for him. I don't tend to see that as an issue. I think his other attributes are so off the charts. Accuracy, decision-making, poise. He can create plays. He's got the best vision of any quarterback I've seen. That to me is what makes him special, his ability to see the whole field. So you're going to run a system that fits him. You're not going to just throw him into any system and have him be successful, but you had the blueprint last year with what they did at LSU. And I think that Zach Taylor has the capabilities of implementing what he does mixed with what LSU did, and I think it would be a perfect fit.
Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network analyst. He'll be working the draft with our buddy Rich Eisen on the NFL Network in conjunction with ESPN. The downside to Justin Herbert is?
He's a little bit robotic, and there's not as much natural playmaking with him. In other words, when it's on time, in rhythm, on script, I think he's a good quarterback. That's why I like him going to a place that can run the football, play action, and he'll be successful. But he's not going to sit back there and carve you up with bodies coming in his face. He's not going to be able to use his athleticism and creativity to make a lot of plays that way. Even though he's really athletic, there's a difference between being athletic and being creative, and he's just not very creative as a football player. But you are getting somebody that's incredibly intelligent and is going to be, again, I say a high floor, Dan. I think you know exactly what you're getting with him.
Aside from the injuries with Tua, what would be the big negative for you? He's not the biggest guy in the world, so there's some size stuff there. But man, I don't know. There's not a lot to hit on him that's negative because, again, I keep coming back to decision making, accuracy, poise. Like he's so good in those key areas.
I talked to a GM the other day that said he's the, not like we've had a long era of this, but he said he's the best RPO quarterback that I've ever seen. Just ball handling, get the ball out. He'll hit those slants a zillion times over. As NFL has started to incorporate more and more of the RPO game, this guy's got a master's degree in that.
Jordan Love.
He's the best natural thrower in the draft. If you had a game of horse between all the quarterbacks, he would win because he can make any throw from any platform, falling away. He can do any arm angle. He can do any of that stuff. I go through that same formula when I'm putting the final touches on the grades for these guys. And although you account for the number of starters that were lost, you account for the new system, I get all that. But decision-making was just not good this year. And that, to me, is what you worry about a little bit going forward. He's got to clean that up. He needs more time than these top four quarterbacks. He's the fourth one for me now. But to me, if he goes to the right spot, Dan, he has the most ability.
Do you think the Chargers would they make a big move here to move up to get Tua?
I think they could, and that's from not working there or talking to people there. That's just from observing how they were in free agency. Not notoriously super aggressive in free agency, and they were all in on the Tom Brady thing, and then they went out and were aggressive signing some other players with Chris Harris, and they did a nice job going out and get Brian Bulaga to try and upgrade the offensive line. So it just seemed like an aggressive approach. So if you're going to be aggressive in free agency, that leads me to believe you'd be willing to be aggressive in the draft, and everybody in the league knows what the position they need to address. So that, to me, is why I think I could see them being aggressive to move up.
Do you think the Redskins were ever interested in a quarterback?
I don't know. To me, it seems like this is a fairly easy decision for them because they have Haskins, who has a lot of ability, and you have another quarterback you just traded to bring over there who they like as a coaching staff. And Kyle Allen. So you've got two guys. Nothing's really decided there. And then where you are, you don't have a really clean, with Tua with the injury, assuming Burrow's gone, it's not like he's the cleanest quarterback. So why not try and figure out what you have in your own building? And, oh, yeah, by the way, bring in the best player in the draft, who's going to give you one of the best defensive lines in all of football for Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. I mean, that to me, that just seems like an easy one. Just take Chase Young and let this quarterback thing breathe for a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't know if this makes sense to you, but if Kyle Allen beats out Dwayne Haskins, does then that mean that the Redskins should have taken Tua? If Dwayne Haskins can't beat out Kyle Allen, then are they making a mistake?
Well, I think that's a fair argument, although it would be on brand to have the Redskins have a later round quarterback beat out the first round quarterback. But, look, my thing is, Dan, I know it's the most important position, and you've got to get that figured out. If Tua was clean, then I could make that case and say, look, he's better than what you have. Just take him. But because of some of the injury stuff, and there's a little bit of a question mark there, Chase Young's just too good.
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
It's the second most important position in football is who can get to the quarterback. And you have an elite player just falling in your lap right here. Just take him.
I'll leave you with this. If you could get a totally honest answer with Tom Brady on any topic, Deflategate, Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, or something else, or other, what would you want to know about?
Oh, I would. This can be kind of a weird question, but I would say, how many? Put him on. If we put you on one of the, let's say, because I work there, Tom. If you were the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens with their personnel, how many Super Bowls would you have won there? I bet you if he told the truth, he'd say 10.
Really?
I mean, look at the personnel, Dan. Compare the personnel of those two teams outside of the quarterback position for the 2000s decade. Like, I think he would won 10 Super Bowls.
Wow.
Hot.
Wow.
That's a hot take.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, you've got there's people might forget about this, but you've got arguably the greatest middle linebacker of all time, arguably the greatest free safety of all time. You've got Terrell Suggs, is probably a Hall of Famer. You've got Haloti Ngata, who's a perennial Pro Bowler. You've got Chris McAllister. You've got the top 3 left tackle in NFL history in Jonathan Ogden.
A Hall of Fame tight end.
Yard rusher. you've got a Hall of Fame tight end, plus his backup, Todd Heap, was a perennial Pro Bowler, a 2,000-yard rusher. You don't think Tom Brady would have won? I think he would have won 10 Super Bowls. I don't think that's crazy. He won 6 with the guys they had in New England.
I know. You just blew my mind there. That's going to go viral here, Daniel. That one, that's pretty good. And you worked with the Ravens.
Yeah, we saw. I mean, we couldn't beat them. I mean, we would look at the rosters on paper and go, we feel pretty good about everyone but this guy, and we couldn't stop him.
That's good stuff. Hey, it's great to check in with you. Hopefully, we'll talk to you prior to the draft again. If not, have fun. I'll be texting you probably during the draft.
You're the best, Dan. I appreciate you, bud.
Thank you, Daniel. Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network analyst, Chargers color analyst. You know, when he first got the job, when Mayock left, I waited during the commercials, and I would just send him a text. And it was basically just saying, you're killing it. He did a great job. He does a great job. Doesn't make it about him. He makes it about the people that he's analyzing. But NFL Network, Path to the Draft, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on NFL Network. I think that quote's going to go viral here, that Daniel Jeremiah said Brady would have won 10 Super Bowls if he was with the ball. When you start to look at the personnel the Ravens had, and I think you can make a case the Ravens have had more talent in the last 20 years than maybe any other franchise. A lot of talent. All right, we'll take a break. Back after this on The Dan Patrick Show.
Hey, what's up? It's Paulie and Seton. We're here with Keith, the senior archivist.
You can say it either way.
Okay, here at the Sony Archives.
We basically preserve the history of the studio via props, costumes, art department.
So you're gonna let us in, check everything out?
Hesitantly, but we will.
All right, any ground rules?
No touching.
Really no touching?
No touching.
Recommended or serious?
I don't like his look.
Are you allowed to touch that? You can't touch that. I touched it, I'm sorry. You can't touch these. What are you doing?
You're very bad at this. Welcome to the archive. As you can see, there's many goodies around. The
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters backpack. They used to light up. I don't know if they do anymore. We haven't put them in a quite a while. Let's not do that.
No. Okay. All right.
Men in Black props we have are stored right here.
This is so sick.
You might recognize some of these.
So you're gathering these things from movie sets, right? Does somebody say to you, like, make sure you grab the Finn rifle?
No, it's really my decision, and also we deal a lot with like the prop masters and the costume designers to determine like what's most important for that film or television show.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a collaboration.
Yeah, Jerry Maguire. That is rad.
Can we borrow this for the Dan Patrick Show tomorrow, but get right back? I mean, like 24 hours tops.
I doubt it.
It's from The Equalizer?
It is.
Holy moly.
That's who you see die, I think, in the first part of the film.
Holy smokes, look at the hair. Dude, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Ricky Bobby's cast from Talladega Nights. This is the one that Will wore.
Is this the real one?
That is the one and only.
There's a lot of sneaky stuff in these cabinets. Okay, look at this. Tom Hanks' character, Captain Phillips. It's his ID.
Oh, that's from the movie.
Captain Phillips.
Yeah, the movie was Captain Phillips, right?
Jonah Hill's bike from 21 Jump Street. In the cop scene early in the movie. It's great. See, now we're talking Superbad. Jonah Hill.
Come on.
His character Seth, remember at the party he dumps out the laundry thing?
That's the real one?
That is the real one.
This is Kevin Costner's files from JFK that they brought into court.
Jim Garrison.
I could tell from this here, that's what this is.
That's a great catch.
Yeah, that's not right. That's
I saw the movie.
Definitely not right.
You're not.
This from Karate Kid, the All Valley Under 18 Open Karate Championships. This is a Daniel LaRusso's. This is Johnny's second place trophy.
That is a whole other level of Karate Kid nerddom. Do you have any ability to put a value?
Each individual piece is different, and it varies, depending on how old the piece is, who wore it. Like, there's a lot of different variables to determine a value. And also, it's at the end of the day, what's it going to sell for at auction? If you sold it to auction, it depends on that day. It could change from year to year.
From one of Dan and Adam Sandler's films, Longest Yard, 2005, the late, great Burt Reynolds. These are the shoulder pads he wore in the football scenes.
Oh, sir, you can't leave your Water here. That's
a prop. That's from Dog Day Afternoon. Pacino.
Al Pacino drank out of
in
that.
the bank scene.
You're right. I misspoke.
Al Pacino's bottled water in the 70s.
Oh, dude.
Now, this is kind of one of my favorite pieces as well. I don't know if you loved Married with Children
This is
growing
the
up as much as
couch?
I did. That's the couch, and that's the dummy they threw off the roof.
Get out of here!
Yeah, I pulled it out. I pulled the covering off for it so you guys can see it.
All right, this is gonna seem weird, and I apologize in advance, okay?
No, Dan can't have the sock.
All right, it doesn't smell. What did you? Are you kidding me? That's.
Call it. You know what it is.
Holy crap!
That's the Vigo painting from Ghostbusters.
Look at his eyes are so creepy.
I guess we'll head over to the museum.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
All right.
I think Paulie's grabbing a beer.
Oh, okay. Bye, Paulie. Seinfeld set.
Seinfeld set. What?
Take a gander.
This is crazy. The clock from Groundhog Day?
That is that's
Is that the
clock.
real?
That's the clock.
Get out of here. Come on.
That's a keeper.
Are you trying to?
That's a keeper.
Are you trying to get me emotional right now? Didn't you just love Johnny Five?
Johnny Five, Short Circuit 2.
So the archive's not open to the general public, but the museum is.
Correct. Go to Sony Pictures Studios Tours.com and you can book a tour. They'll show you the lot. They'll show you some sound stages. You get to see this great museum. It's only been open for 2 years, so there's a lot to see.
Yeah.
And it's constantly changing in and out.
This is the real one.
That is the real one.
Dang, I feel like I keep saying that.
Paulie had pulled this out earlier. This is the jacket.
Dude, this is so sick. Keith, this is awesome. Awesome.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think we head out this way.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll unlock it.
There you go. Go ahead. Hey, and thank you. Thank you again. I appreciate it. That was super cool. Master of my own domain.
Over 100,000 have voted for the second round, the Mesquite 16, and we'll have some of the closer matchups for you. You got till Saturday, I believe, to vote on the Mesquite 16. Then we move on to the Elite 8. Make sure you check out the DP Show store. A lot of great stuff there. And, of course, the Beer Here T-shirts. Different team colors there. They help aid hourly and service industry workers who have been impacted by the pandemic. Go to danpatrick.com to check them out. All the money from those Beer Here T-shirts will go to that cause. Daniel Jeremiah saying something interesting there. If Brady played his career in Baltimore, they would have won 10 Super Bowls. McLovin, I noticed that you weren't thrilled with that comment by Daniel Jeremiah.
Well, he's a personnel guy. He thinks drafting the right players is what wins Super Bowl, and it's been proven time and time again that that's not true. The Patriots aren't even a good drafting team. They've won 6. It's coaching, system, and everything going together.
So you're saying the draft is not important?
It's important, but I mean, is Bill Belichick a great drafter?
No.
Is he do they win every year? Because they get them in their system and they just coach them up.
How many Super Bowls do you think Brady would have if he went to Baltimore with that talent?
So they won 1, right? Or did they won 1? He wasn't, well.
They won 1 with Dilfer, and then they won 1 with Joe Flacco.
So I would say 5, not 10.
Okay.
Because
that's still pretty good.
They're pretty good. Yeah. But Ozzie Newsome is an amazing drafter.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. But I mean, Daniel Jeremiah did make a great point. You got arguably the best center and linebacker to ever play the game. You got one of the great left tackles to ever play the game. You had Shannon Sharp there as your tight end. You had a 2,000-yard rusher at one point. You had Haloti Ngata up front. They had a lot of talent there. Yeah, Paul.
Question for the room. If you could go back 20 years and hire Bill Belichick or draft Tom Brady, you can only do one. You're just a franchise. You own a franchise. You get those 2 choices in a hypothetical.
I'd take Bill Belichick. I'd take Belichick. Anybody want to weigh in on that? Todd?
I'd go Belichick for sure. As great as Tom Brady is, what Belichick does with him and everyone else, got to go, Coach.
Seton O'Connor, Jr. the third, Patriot fan?
It's not even close. You're going Belichick.
Yeah, I agree. McLovin, you feel that way?
I'd go Belichick. I think that's a great poll question. I'm curious if everyone feels that way. If Tom famously said, if I was in Arizona, I wouldn't have been this great quarterback, maybe.
He told me 15 years ago, if he had gone in the first round, he doesn't even know if he'd still be in the league because he wasn't ready to play, and the expectation level with first-round draft picks now is different back then. Do we even know when I did that interview with him, Paulie, for ESPN, the magazine?
The magazine?
Because I'm thinking it's probably maybe not 15 years ago, but I've been gone from the mothership for 13 years.
07. It was after, I think it was 06. You interviewed him in 06, I think, for the magazine. You interviewed him maybe 3 years later on the Dan Patrick Show. No, we had him on when he won his second Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Whatever year that was, the second Super Bowl. I think that was also 06.
And then I interviewed him prior to the Eagles Super Bowl for NBC.
Yes.
Yeah. He had some interesting quotes on Howard Stern. He said he knew before the start of last season that would be his last year as a Patriot. Brady occasionally smoked marijuana in high school. Hash pipe Tommy. Is that a hashtag?
Hash pipe. Look at you.
Well done.
Thank you, Todd.
T-shirt.
Oh, great. Hash pipe Tommy.
That's great.
We'll clean it up. We got Hank Aaron set to join us. Brady at one point told Belichick, don't put in a wide receiver because he's not going to throw him the ball. All right, we'll look at some of these other quotes here. Final hour coming up on this Wednesday. Doc Emmerich, Al Michaels, Jim Nance. These are the gold standards in play-by-play sports commentating. But now, we introduce a new voice, a new face, a new name. Dan Gardella, the voice of the AUAA.
So I started getting into sports commentating my sophomore year of high school. This was after I came to the realization that I was not going to be a professional athlete, but I still wanted to work with sports, work around sports in any way possible.
Welcome back, Pios fans. I'm Dan Gardella.
How rewarding is it for you as a player to get a good win against a really good team?
Welcome you once again to the Dan Patrick Show Fieldhouse. I'm Dan Gardella, as really another great's not the word to use. Go ahead, there he is. Jones, it rolls in!
I think the biggest challenge is just especially as a student, is just the time management. I mean, there have been many times where I've had 2 games to call, but at the same time I have project, a paper, homework. You have to be able to stay on top of your stuff, but at the same time know that you're calling a game. You have to be as prepared as possible. You have to be ready as soon as you get there. Todd, thanks so much for sitting down with me.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
When you're a star, you expect to get treated like a star.
Yeah, for sure. Andrew Perloff, our Sports Clips MVP in Game 2. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
As that wraps up, Week 3 regular season is done.
Since I got this gig with the AUAA, I don't want to brag, but people have taken notice.
Hey, Danny.
guys.
Buzz Nation, we got AUAA's finest, Dan Gardella. Dan, how you doing?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me on. Hey, this is Dan Gardella of the AUAA. You've reached Camilla's phone. Leave a message after the beep.
Are you Dan from the AUAA? There's no way. Greg, there's no way. There's no way. Can you sign this autograph?
Yeah, man.
I'm such a big fan. Yeah, we're such a big fan.
guys.
Yeah, my dream. Oh my God.
Here you go, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
No problem, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Oh my God.
Take a few steps back. That's like saying Mitch Trubisky is dabbling in being a quarterback. You don't dabble in becoming a comedian. You go for it. And that doesn't mean you can't have this gig and go for it, but you really go for it or you don't. Yeah, I want to be clear about something. Okay. You have to go on stage 500 times before you're even mediocre. Okay, so where are you at? 2? 3.
3. I did something in Minneapolis.
Why am I having this conversation? Why are we even having this conversation? This is somebody who's clearly not serious.
I gotta get my act together.
No, I gotta get. Do you see what he keeps on saying? I'm dabbling. I gotta get my act together a little bit. Oh, who are you? I don't get it. I don't want to deal with you anymore. I used to have great respect for you.
It's like he's like a boxer. It's like once every 6 months he gets back into the ring
and then gets the shit out of him. Right? He just gets the crap kicked out. Exactly right. You don't do that.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Broadcasting from a responsible social distance.
I've got Fritzy at home, McLovin at home, Seton at home. Paulie is here in the man cave.
Dan Patrick and the Danettes bring you the best in sports-ish kind of talk.
It's Damian Lillard who joins us on the program from my Portland Trailblazers. How's the house?
Built me a little recording studio out inside the house. I got me a game room set up.
Bringing Bob Nightingale. If we do play baseball, who would be the favorite to win it all this year?
I think the Dodgers are loaded. I love that Mookie Betts trade. When baseball comes back, I don't know how much fans are going to be jumping all over the Astros. It's like, with all we've gone through, are we really going to boo these guys? Do we really care that much about baseball cheating?
And now, from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. It's been a fun show so far. First 2 hours, Cal Ripken Jr. stopped by. Daniel Jeremiah set Twitter ablaze where he said if Tom Brady had played for the Baltimore Ravens instead of the Patriots, he would have won 10 Super Bowls. Daniel Jeremiah, the former NFL scout, now the NFL draft analyst for the NFL Network. Coming up, we'll talk to the great Hank Aaron. It was 46 years ago tonight that he hit home run number 715 to become the all-time home run champ. And we'll talk to the great basketball player from Oregon, Sabrina Ionescu, the two-time Wooden Award winner. She'll join us coming up in the final hour of the show. If you'd like, get in touch, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP-SHOW. As we say good morning to Hank Aaron, Hall of Famer. And on this day, 46 years ago, he homered off Al Downing and number 715. How are you, Hank?
I'm fine, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I actually went back and listened to Vin Scully's call of the home run. When's the last time that you sat down and watched that?
Oh my goodness, it's been a time. It's been a while. It has been a long time, Dan. I haven't watched it that much.
What do you remember about that night? Like, is there something that never came out, or something that is just special for you? Something before the game, after the game that happened?
Well, you know, the thing that I remember most about that night was my mother. She was so enthused. She was so happy, and when I hit the home run and got around the bases to home plate, she grabbed me, and I had never been hugged before in my life like that.
I did notice that she was holding on for dear life to you. She just didn't want to let you go.
No, she didn't. She was quite happy, and I was thrilled.
What did you keep from that night?
I think I remember that night. I remember most was the fact that.
Well, did you keep your uniform? Did you keep the bat? Did you what memorabilia did you keep from that night?
I don't think I kept anything as far as that's concerned.
Oh,
I don't think I kept anything. I think I went home, Dan. I think I went home. My wife and I both, and we prayed, and I asked God forgiveness and thanked Him for everything that He had done for me, and that's the thing I remember most.
Did you thank him for that pitch that Al threw to you that was up in the strike zone?
Well, you know, a lot of people talk about that pitch, but that was, he was quite a pitcher.
He won 20 games before, yeah.
Yeah, he used to pitch with the Yankees, and he was quite a pitcher. And I had never had good luck against him. And for some reason, it was the night that come calling, and I hit the home run off of her.
And you homered in Cincinnati off Jack Billingham. And then I think, did Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner, want you to wait to go to Atlanta, or you wanted to wait to go to Atlanta to try to set the record there? He made you play that maybe the next day in Cincinnati. Does that sound right?
Yes, he wanted me to play the next day. Yes, he wanted me instead of I opened the season up. I hit the home run, and then I wanted to wait and do the rest of it in Atlanta here. And he said no. He said you, by your record, say you played every other day, and said you should play today.
How different would your career been if you played in a bigger market?
I think it would have been a lot different, but then I don't know. I kind of.
Were you a small market guy? Like you were in Milwaukee and Atlanta. If I swapped you and Willie Mays or you and Mickey Mantle, would your personality, would you done okay in New York as opposed to Atlanta and in Milwaukee?
I think I'd have got along as far as very well, but I don't know that I would have been the same type of ball player that I was in Milwaukee. Milwaukee was made for me.
Yeah,
I loved Milwaukee. I was a country boy. Milwaukee was a country city. And I just loved being in Milwaukee.
What other sports did you play growing up?
I played a little basketball. I'm sorry, not basketball. Take that back. Looking at basketball, I played a little football. But other than that, Dan, I didn't play any other sport. I played baseball. I was strictly a baseball player. I played baseball from 8 years old until I got to be 12 or 13.
How good a running? Were you a running back?
I could run. I could run pretty well. I didn't have the feet like some of these wide receivers or running backs had, but I could make hay.
You can
I could do things. I could do things that I wanted to do.
But I think, how much was the most you weighed? 180, maybe?
I weighed the most I weighed was 180.
Wow.
That was it. I never weighed more than 180. I always, if I got 185, 190 pounds, I was overweight.
But you had those quick wrists. Like Mike Schmidt and you were the two guys. I just remember it was a flick of the wrist because you weren't a big guy. I think your lower body was a little bigger. But how do you explain all of those home runs with not being a big guy?
I did most of my things with my wrist. For some reason, I don't know why, but I had very strong hands. And I had very strong wrists. And I did everything with my wrists.
Yeah, you did it quite well. 46 years ago tonight, he hit home run number 715. We're talking to Hank Aaron. You know, we've talked about this before. You were kind enough to share your feelings going into this, that you got letters, horrible letters. People didn't want a black man breaking Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. And then here you are in the South. You hit the home run. And then you have these two fans who run on the field as you're rounding second. What were you thinking?
Yes. These two kids ran on the field, and actually they meant nothing. They didn't mean to do any harm to me. They had said before the game started that if I hit a home run, time presented itself that they were going to run on the field and make themselves presentable.
It looked like they were trying to take off your batting helmet.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You know, and one of them turned out to be a doctor, and they turned out to be pretty good citizens.
Oh man, I cried that night when you homered. I was watching in Cincinnati, and of course, I'm a big Red Machine guy, but
yeah,
I had your poster up on the wall, and I still have that. I think it was McGregor that had the poster with every one of the names of the pitchers that you hit home runs off of leading up to 715. Do you remember that poster?
I don't remember that.
Yeah. You know, I should send it to you.
Yeah, thank you. I wish you would.
Do you collect memorabilia at all? If I go in
a little bit, I don't. Everything, everything that I have, Dan, everything, rings, watches, anything that I have, I've given it to Cooperstown. I give everything I ever had to Cooperstown. I don't own anything. And somebody said, well, why did you do that? Well, I said, it belongs to Cooperstown. I said, I played baseball before people, before lots and lots and lots of people. And I said, it belonged for them to enjoy. They want to go to the Cooperstown to look at it. That's what they need to do.
And I also thought at the time when Bonds broke your record, it was unfair to bring you into that. I always felt bad about that. I don't know how you felt, but it was like, who do you think is the all-time home run champ? Like I always viewed you as the all-time home run champ. He had more home runs. You're the all-time home run champ. That's the way I always answered it. But
well, thanks very much.
Did you feel uncomfortable when you were asked about that with Bonds? Like you were brought in to somehow explain Barry Bonds.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
It felt like, they were unfair in saying, let me bring you in. And what do you think of Bonds breaking your record? And like they were bringing you into a controversy there.
Well, they were, and the only way that I could get out of it was the fact that to make a statement and get it out of the way.
Yeah. Well, it's great
Dan, how you been doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing,
Man, I've been watching your show. You're doing a magnificent job.
Well, I'm during the commercial break here. I'm going to go back, and if I can get a cameraman, I'm going to show that poster to you. And I mean it. I'd love to send it to you but it's you, and it's McGregor Sporting Goods, and it's got all your home runs that you hit. Do you remember that first one?
I do.
Who did you hit it off of?
Vic Rasher.
Okay. What did he throw you?
He threw me a Big Rasher nothing ball.
I love you. You're a treasure, and I hope we get many more anniversaries to talk about this. But thank you again. I know you're probably being inundated with people wanting to talk to you on this anniversary, and thank you. You always have a place in my heart.
Thank you very much, Dan, and good luck to you, and may God bless you.
All right, that's Hank Aaron, Braves Hall of Famer. Yeah, I had that poster. I had a couple of posters. I had the poster of the home run on my wall growing up. And I don't know what it was about Hank Aaron other than there was a quiet greatness, quiet dignity to him. You never read anything about him. And I wonder if I put Willie Mays in Atlanta and Hank Aaron in New York. I mean, Hank was still going to be a great player. I always wonder about, to me, Mickey Mantle would have been better in a smaller market. Willie Mays was great in New York. Willie Mays was great wherever, but you have to have that right personality. And it felt like the bigger city was going to do damage to Mickey Mantle off the field. And I wonder if he would have been in a smaller market. He's from a small town in Oklahoma. And Hank Aaron, small town guy. And he played in Atlanta and played in Milwaukee. He's 86 years of age, folks.
Man.
86 years of age. But not much fanfare. You watch him, and he had 3,700 hits in his career. He was a Gold Glove winner. I mean, he was a great all-around player. He wasn't the athlete that Mantle and Mays were, or didn't have the flair that they did. He never hit 40 home runs, I don't think, in a year. He may have maybe once. He never hit 50, I should say. Yeah, Paul.
He hit 40 one time. He hit, 46 another time. But he usually had anywhere between 25 and 35 home runs, but forever.
But that's a power hitter back then hit 25 home runs. If you got to 40, that was really something special. But to hear Vin Scully with the call, and he talked about a black man in the Deep South getting a standing ovation from a white audience. I mean, Vin captures moments. And you just imagine that. You got Hank Aaron and Vin Scully, two of the great gentlemen in the history of baseball. And they're about the same age. And Vin with the call. I think Milo Hamilton had the call on local radio in Atlanta. Kurt Gowdy was there, I think, for NBC. And then you had Vin in town because the Dodgers were in town. Yeah, Paulie.
I don't want to do this to you, but if I told you when you were in high school that Hank Aaron would be on saying, "Hey, I love your show.
Oh my God,
I like listening to watching your show." That's nuts.
You know what? I've been very, very fortunate that a lot of these guys that I got a chance to. Jerry West. I mean, I never take it for granted when Jerry West comes on. Never. Johnny Bench. Never take it for granted. Because growing up, and you're watching. If you said to me when I'm in high school, "Hey, by the way, you're going to interview those guys, and they're going to tell you that they like your show," and I'm going to go, "What show?" You're going to have a show. You're also going to have these guys called Danettes, but we'll get to that another time. You're going to have your own show. Oh, God.
You're like, what, my show here in Cincinnati?
Yeah. No.
Actually.
You're going to be in Milford, Connecticut, and it's called a man cave. A man cave, yeah. You're going to have a guy named McLovin. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll sign up for that. All right. We'll talk to the best women's college basketball player the last 2 years, Sabrina Ionescu. They'll join us on loan from Oregon. I got to find out, the jersey that somebody sent to me did somebody take that from Oregon Sports Department? Because I have her jersey. It's not signed. And do you think that Hank Aaron would want that poster? Because I got it framed, and I don't want to send it, Should I send it? What do you think, Fritzy?
Absolutely. I think he genuinely would love to have that. And that was awesome that you thought to want
Okay.
to send it to him.
All right. Then I'll during the commercial break, I'll go get that because somebody sent me that. I had it in my room growing up, and I remember when my mom made me clear everything out because we had to do something pesky like sell the house. And I lost that poster, and then somebody sent me that poster. In fact, we're showing it right now. It's Hank turning on a fastball, and though he's not big at all, but those wrists, Mike Schmidt and Hank Aaron had two of the more marvelous, effortless swings in baseball. It was just a quick turn, flip of the wrist, and it was gone. And Schmitty did that as well. All right. That was fun. Great job, Fritzy, in tracking down Hank Aaron. And we'll clean up our act now we know that Hank's watching. This is one of those where Seton's always going, if I would know that such and such is watching, I'd watch what I say or what we do around here.
Yeah. You immediately get so embarrassed. I think of all the dumb stuff I've done in the past.
I know.
Oh, my God. And I think Hank Aaron might have seen that.
I know. Yeah, we're doing groin humor, and poor Hank's there, going, what's wrong with you, Dan? I'm going to pray. He's probably praying for me. All right, coming up on 19 after the hour, we'll get some phone calls, but that was great. Thanks for allowing me to take a trip down memory lane. 19 after the hour, this is the Dan Patrick Show. Marriott has confirmed a second data breach in 3 years. I mean, it feels like every time I'm talking to you about LifeLock, there's a security breach. Somebody's stealing somebody's identity. And you really have to understand how cybercrime is affecting lives. Identity theft is a very, very serious issue. Someone's identity is stolen every 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds, it's stolen. And just if you talk to somebody who's trying to get it back, wow, it is a long process. LifeLock detects a wide range of identity threats, like your social security number for sale on the dark web. If they detect your information, they will send you an alert. Now, no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock can see threats you might miss on your own. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year. All you have to do is use the promo code Patrick. Now, you can call them at 1-800-LifeLock, or you can go to LifeLock.com. Make sure you use the promo code Patrick for 25% off. 1-800-LifeLock or LifeLock.com. All righty. Get some phone calls here. Sabrina Ionescu will join us, Oregon basketball player. Yeah, I got a jersey here. I don't know who sent it to me. It's not autographed, but it's hers. She had to convince Nike to sell these jerseys, and rightfully so. I mean, that they should be selling this, with, women wanting to have that and having somebody to look up to and having jerseys to buy. So she'll join us coming up here. Sam in California joins us. Hi, Sam. What do you have for me today?
Hey, I love that interview with Hank Aaron. I'm in my mid-50s. My granddad was a junior high baseball coach, and my great-grandfather's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm named after him, Wahoo Sam Crawford. So when I was in 7th grade, my granddad said, hey, I'm going to take you to Dodger Stadium and get you a ball signed by Hank Aaron, because Bill Crandall, who was a Dodger coach, like first base coach, that he was a junior high student of my granddad, so they knew each other. So when I told my Little League team, hey, I'm going to a Dodger game tomorrow, I'm going to get a ball signed by Hank Aaron, one kid said, get a ball signed for me. And I said, okay. So I took 2 baseballs, one for my friend, and one I have a baseball signed by my great-grandfather, Sam Crawford, who's in the Hall of Fame for the most triples.
Yes.
And the most inside the park home runs. So there's one baseball in the world that's got Hank Aaron on it and Sam Crawford.
I thought Sam had like 19 triples one year. Something crazy.
Yes, most inside the park home runs, most triples, records that will never, ever be broken in the dead ball era. And I have actually a baseball that he gave me, handed down to me. One baseball, Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, and a few other signatures on there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Sam. I appreciate that. Some nice responses to the Hank Aaron interview is from Scott, who said, sir, I'm just sitting here in my office listening to your interview with Hank Aaron. Best long ball hitter ever. Tears are running down my cheeks. What an incredibly kind, gentle man. Overcame so much. What a great interview. Thanks for this special moment. You guys, you're truly the best at what you do. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I have such admiration for him. And he talked about this. He's been on the show a couple of times, and he talked about the hate mail that he got. All he did is show up and play baseball. There was no reason to ever be angry at Hank Aaron, ever. And all he did is play baseball. But people didn't want a black man to pass Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth, this iconic figure, and all Hank Aaron did is show up every day and play baseball. But some of the hate mail that he got that's why there were snipers at Fulton County Stadium that night. And they had state troopers to protect him. In fact, you'll see in the video when he crosses home plate that his security guy's there. He's got binoculars and he's got a gun. I mean, he's packing. But they had snipers on the roof and then you see these 2 kids run on the field with Hank around second base, and they were taking their lives into their own hands, because how do you know if somebody's going to do something to Hank Aaron? Chuck in Kentucky joins us. Hey, Chuck, what do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Chuck.
Chuck in Lexington, South Carolina.
Oh, okay. Hi.
59180, avid listener. Hey, really appreciate your interviews, period. I think Hank Aaron's probably the most sincere baseball player that I ever saw play. Got to see him play in Fulton County. Got to watch Kopach and Drysdale pitch a doubleheader when I was in Little League. I'm an avid Yankees fan, though, but I pull for Hank and the Braves and Joe. And really do love your show. And hey, y'all cut Fritzy a little slack there. He takes a lot of grief and handles it. But
all right. Well, thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. Fritzy, did you set up Chuck to call in so he would say something nice about you?
I may have given him a few bucks. I didn't want to, since you asked, though.
Jeremy in Texas joins us. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, guys. How's it going, man? Love listening to y'all. Hey, got a question or a theory here for Brady leaving the Patriots. Maybe he wants to go NFC, win a Super Bowl, and be the first quarterback to win a Super Bowl in both AFC and NFC. And 2, continue going for the records. He's only, 8 touchdowns behind Breeze. And I think if Brady would have retired, Breeze probably would have retired. But, I think they're both battling out for those records at their end of their career right now.
Yeah.
That's just my theory.
And I think that Brady, I think, will play 2 years. I think Breeze will play 1. I think Breeze will go into the broadcast booth. Now, he's competitive. Breeze is extremely competitive. But I don't know if he's going to say, I'm going to stick around. Now, he's got a good team, too. Now, I don't know if it's one of those situations where if he wins the Super Bowl, then, he'll definitely, retire. He did a wonderful thing. He donated $5 million to the city of New Orleans. And I helping with what's going on with the coronavirus, him and his wife donating $5 million, which was pretty awesome there. Update the poll results if you can, McLevin.
So I put up the question, if you could go back 20 years, would you draft Tom Brady or hire Bill Belichick? 78% said hire Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I think that there is, not that Brady is a system quarterback, but I think there's a system that Bill Belichick creates. And then there's, I don't want to take away from the greatness of Tom Brady, but I think Belichick has a way of coaching and what he wants and how. But, he's changed his philosophy. He's changed his rosters. That's the sign of a great coach. His ability to adapt is unprecedented in all the sports when it comes to coaching. Yes, McLevin.
Could you ask a similar question with Bill Walsh and Joe Montana? Kind of same dynamic?
Yeah, I think that's because then Steve Young stepped in and, they didn't miss a beat. And a lot of that's with the genius of Bill Walsh. Is Sabrina with us? My Oregon Duck guard. Sabrina Ionescu, the John Wooden Award winner. I got a jersey sent to me, Sabrina. It's yours, but I don't know if it's actually yours. So I feel bad if somebody sent me the jersey. It showed up in the mail. So do you know how I got this?
How?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Oh, I thought you meant. Oh, I think it's mine.
Just take credit for it. It says extra large, so I'm guessing that it's going to fit me. That's the reason why it was sent to me. But it's pretty cool that Nike did this. Did you have to go to Nike and say, why aren't we selling my jerseys?
I don't know if it was in the works or not. But I was getting people asking me nonstop about the jerseys, and so I had tweeted, kind of just asking, like, "Hey, are there going to be jerseys? Just not even for me, but just for other people, just because I'm getting asked all the time." And then the jerseys are out and selling, so it is pretty cool.
That's great. What's your trophy room look like?
I don't really have one, to be honest. I usually give them away or keep them at school somewhere just because I don't have room for them. So they're kind of all over the place. I don't really hold on to them.
What is the one piece of memorabilia that you have, sports memorabilia, that you treasure?
I like to keep jerseys. So I have a lot of jerseys from when I was playing, when I was younger, my USA basketball jerseys, my high school jerseys, college jerseys. So I think jerseys are the ones that I'll hold on to.
What about pro players? Did you collect jerseys from them?
No, I didn't collect jerseys. I have Steph's jersey. I have Klay Thompson's jersey. So I have some jerseys there. A bunch of pictures, banners, all that stuff.
And how did you form the relationship with Kobe Bryant?
We became friends a few years ago when he brought his daughter to our game at USC.
And then, but that's got to be pretty surreal where you're going, okay, there's Kobe. Okay, he's walking over here. He's got you can't be cool under. How did you react?
It was really cool. It's always humbling, and I got goosebumps, and I was like, oh my gosh, is that Kobe? And our coaches knew, but they didn't tell us. So it really was like a surprise to see him, and to just be able to see him in person was crazy.
And look, I loved watching you play. Certainly with your ability to be a triple-double machine there. The poise you showed at Kobe's memorial far outweighed anything that you did on the basketball floor. You were, I don't know how nervous you were. You were unbelievable that day.
Thank you. I was very nervous. Before and after, I think just seeing how many people were there, and obviously all the emotions that were filled with being there was tough. But I think once I started and finally got up there and started speaking, I didn't really think about it too much, but I definitely was very nervous.
Sabrina Ionescu, the former Oregon Duck guard and best college basketball player in the country the last 2 years. What's it been like last month? Since they decided they weren't going to play the tournament, what have you done?
Yeah, just working out and doing stuff at home. There's still a private gym that I can get into and go to that I worked out with before, and then just lifting and doing yoga, reading, still in school, and so just trying to find things to stay busy and stay sharp.
Liberty, the New York Liberty have the number 1 overall pick. Is that right?
Yeah, they do.
Have you already started looking at what it costs to live in New York?
I think they pay for housing, so I have not looked at the prices of housing.
Favorite player growing up?
Steph Curry.
And now, have you shot with him?
Yeah, we worked out. We're actually really close friends now, so it's kind of cool to see the relationship grow.
What do you do better than Steph Curry?
Literally nothing.
But you see that range, Sabrina. Like, we watch on TV, but he invented that. You can say that, Steph has had a bigger impact on the game than almost anyone in the history of the sport because he allowed everybody who is smaller to think that they can play. You don't have to be physical. Steph Curry's impact on the game cannot be understated.
No, it can't, and I think people that don't see that and don't value that don't really understand the impact that he's had on the sport. You walk into any gym and there's little kids shooting from half court. They're shooting, shots like Steph, and it's evolved the game. I wouldn't be surprised if the three-point line gets moved back, moving forward, and it's because of him and his ability. So it's been cool to see that.
If you didn't play basketball, what would you be doing?
Probably going to work, going to college, living a life.
What's your major?
I have no idea. If I wasn't playing basketball?
What's your major?
It's crime, law, and society.
Wait, what is that?
Crime, law, and crime, law, and society.
Yeah. So do you want to be a police officer? CSI?
No, I just wasn't good at math, so I decided to do law.
It's great to have you on. You should be very proud of what you did, and I meant what I said about to stand up there at Kobe's tribute, that memorial, and I went, I couldn't have done it, and I do this for a living. Couldn't have done it, but you're a special player and certainly a special person. I wish you luck in the WNBA and with the New York Liberty.
Thank you so much for having me and for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
That's Sabrina Ionescu, the Oregon two-time Wooden Award winner. She has the all-time record in career triple-doubles, men or women, with 26. But first NCAA player, 2,000 career points, 1,000 assists, 1,000 rebounds. Yes, Paul.
I like that the WNBA puts people up. New York, moving to New York.
Yeah, I know.
That's going to be tough for an athlete.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they're going to pay for your housing there. She's going to need that. It's going to be expensive. Yeah, Paul.
I don't know if I mentioned this to you because you know how much I stink at basketball. I used to work at a health club that you've actually been in New York City back in the late 90s. And the New York Liberty players in the offseason would come there and play pickup. And they would take any live bodies they could just to play 5-on-5. And I was one of those live bodies. Remember Teresa Weatherspoon?
Oh, yeah,
and,
Spoon,
and
yeah.
Kim Hampton. She was a power forward.
Yeah.
They used to kick our butts for 2 hours. And, there were obviously better players than me, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, you'll find a lot of the college teams, women's college teams, will scrimmage against men. I had a nephew who scrimmaged against a women's college basketball team, and he's a good athlete, probably 6'5" or so, 6'6", and they wanted that. They wanted that competition. And also, I've been to a practice before where a women's college basketball team, they scrimmaged against 6 guys. Not 5, 6, and they were full court pressure, and they wanted to just give the feeling of, there's nowhere to go. Like, how do we break the press? If we can break the press here with 6 guys against us, we'll break the press against this team that they were going to face in the tournament. Yeah, Paul.
As we're playing pickup, the games would change. We'd switch teams. So at one point, I found myself on Teresa Weatherspoon's team, and she's like an all-star for the New York Liberty. And, I can't shoot and don't shoot when I play basketball. I try not to because I can't. I just get the ball around. And she goes, shoot a little bit, make them so they don't back off you. And I took a shot. She goes, hey, I changed my mind. Don't shoot. She goes, don't shoot. She saw me this one shot.
If you get to see the Women of Troy on USC basketball, it's, Cheryl, the McGee twins, and Teresa Witherspoon. Spoon is she's grew up in a tough environment, but a wonderful person. Really a great documentary. All right, we'll take a break here. Oh, I watched a documentary, Sunderland Till I Die.
Soccer?
Yes, a soccer documentary. And it's about this team that's been relegated. They used to be really good in the Premier League. I watched that last night. It was good. Yeah. But they talk about how this used to be the biggest shipping city in the world. And, they've fallen on hard times. But they have this beautiful stadium there, the soccer team. So I was watching that. It's about really the fan base, the players, management, the city itself. So there's probably, I think, 6 or 8 episodes there. All right, we'll take a break. Last call for phone calls, what we learned, what's in store tomorrow. And we'll come back to tell you about all that right after this. This day in sports history, what we learned, all of that coming up. Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network analyst, he'll be working the draft. He said if Tom Brady had played for the Ravens and not the Patriots, the Ravens would have won 10 Super Bowls in those 20 years. I wanted to have Stats Inc. go back and tell me how many Pro Bowl selections the Ravens had over that same time period with the Patriots. The Patriots from 2000 until last year had 94 Pro Bowl selections, 14 of which were Tom Brady. So if I take Brady out of this, Patriots had 80 Pro Bowl selections. The Ravens had 107. And what Daniel Jeremiah was saying, that the Ravens have had as much, if not more talent than any team in the last 20 years. They got 2 Super Bowls, but he thinks if Brady would have been on that team, where you got Ed Reed, you got Ray Lewis, you got Jonathan Ogden. They had Haloti Ngata. They had great players on that team. Whereas the Patriots didn't have those kind of Hall of Fame-like players, but they had great teams. Final results of the poll question, McLovin.
So if you could go back 20 years, would you hire Belichick or draft Brady? 74% say hire Belichick.
Man, it's a little more overwhelming than I thought. But thanks for everybody who voted on that. Also voting for the Meat Friday songs, the Mesquite 16. Let me see. Coming up tomorrow, Myron Rolle, known as now Dr. Myron Rolle, the former NFL player, defensive back. Jim Nantz, hello, friends.
Whoa.
Hello, friends. Dogwoods and foliage with the Augusta tournament being pushed back. This would be he'd be coming off the Final Four, and then he would have Augusta. And Al Michaels. Okay, Albino going to join us on the program. Justin Herbert of the Oregon Ducks will join us, I believe, on Friday. John in New Zealand joins us now. Hi, John. What do you have for me today?
How you doing, mate?
Hey, mate.
G'day, Danette. It's really great to chat to you after a long, long break. Yeah, Dan, it's the first time I've managed to get through in quite some long time, and I wanted to thank you. I mean, you guys have been through a lot in the last 2 years, 3 years with your health and everything. I haven't spoken to you since you shared live what you went through, and since you changed to a new man cave. I just wanted to say what you guys are doing now, taking people's minds off all that we're going through around the world, and what you shared last year, especially about being open about dealing with depression and from medication and that. I think you guys do an incredible job. And around the world, people are blessed because you guys are on air.
John, thank you. It's great to hear from you. And I've heard from a lot of people with my health, and I'm doing fine. I've talked about, I had an autoimmune disease condition, and so far, everything is good. I have a compromised immune system, and certainly with the coronavirus, we're taking all the precautions, but I'm in contact with my main doctor about this, and hopefully, knock on wood, that we'll all get through this. But thank you for all those who have inquired, some privately, some publicly, who've reached out. Thank you very much. Let me see. This Day in Sports History, Paulie. By the way, this has been a great show. Cal Ripken, always great to talk to Rip. Jeremiah gave us something going viral. Hank Aaron and Sabrina Ionescu, that was great. A lot of fun. It's great to come into work and get the opportunity to do this. What do you have sports history-wise?
1974, Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run.
We should get him on today.
We should get him on. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
1975, Frank Robinson of the Cleveland Indians, first African-American manager of a Major League Baseball team.
Well, it was the Indians, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
That's a shot.
1991, the Oakland A's stadium became the first outdoor arena to ban smoking. How random.
I didn't know that.
Who was
Really?
last? Well, I'd like to know who was last. Who was like, you know what? We cannot give up the heaters.
All right. Let me see. Mark in Florida. Hey, Mark.
DP, how you doing, buddy?
Good, sir.
First time, long time, or long time, first time, 6'5", 220. Dayton Flyer, 96 alumni, and I heard you guys talking about scout team against the women's teams. My buddy was a manager for the men's team at UD when I was there. We used to play scout team against the women's team there. One time was the day after Halloween where we were actually beating them pretty good. The coach blew the whistle, stopped practice, and berated the team because they were losing to, quote, 5 drunks from the ghetto, one of which had silver paint on his face. My buddy had dressed up as a Tin Man the night before for Halloween and partied in the ghetto all night long. So that was just one of a great times of UD basketball history.
All right. No, thank you. Thanks for the phone call, Mark. Now, they called it the ghetto. This was the housing, the off-campus housing at the University of Dayton. So not truly a ghetto, but that's the houses were in disrepair.
Disrepair?
Yeah, disrepair.
Because of you.
No, I mean, I was there.
Not you specifically.
No, well, maybe. But I could have. But my brothers went there too, so I'm going to put some blame on them. My 3 other brothers went there. Let's go around the room and find out what we learned on this program. Todd, what did you learn today?
The Iron Man, Cal Ripken Jr., did not have perfect attendance in school.
I was surprised. He struck me as the guy who would be there every day, going to class, showing up.
Hands folded.
Teacher's pet, sitting in the front row, all of those things McLovin probably did. McLovin, what did you learn today?
I learned that Tom Brady was basically Jeff Spicoli in high school.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I mean, I've seen the headlines. The mothership says Brady spills all. I don't think so. I don't think he was spilling a lot, unless he actually spilled something. But I don't think that he was spilling a lot with Howard Stern earlier this morning. He said he smoked pot occasionally in high school, and he knew that it started last year that he wasn't going back to the Patriots. I don't know if there's anything else that's juicy in there. Any quotes about Giselle? Because I figured that's what Howard wanted to know about. Yeah, McLeod.
Yeah, he actually did say some stuff that he had to stop going to off-season workouts to save his marriage, something like that. There's some heavy stuff coming out of that. Actually, believe it or not, I think Howard did a good job, is what we're reading.
Oh, I'm sure he did the best you can with Brady, but I do think that Giselle wanted him to retire a couple of years ago. I really do. Seton, what'd you learn?
There's a slight chance that the great Hank Aaron is a member of Chat Row on YouTube. Very slight. It's possible.
Paulie, what did you learn?
This is easy living. Getting to interview Hank Aaron, that's cool.
What we learned brought to you by LegalZoom. They make it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Thanks for all the folks who make this happen. Certainly the Danettes, the boys in the back room, and you watching and listening. Thank you. Talk to you tomorrow.